Morning, everybody. What's going on? I'm your host, Martino. This is Movie Mornings, and if you're watching on the Twitch stream, it's more like movie evenings. So a little bit different here. We're kind of doing an early access event. My brother-in-law, Logan Lawson, aka TheBoomBoxx, was nice enough to let me do this on his Twitch stream because we're highlighting him today. It's kind of all about him and his music video that just came out, which I thought was super impressive, called Transhumanism. I hope you checked it out. And also, guys, if you're watching on the YouTube, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave some feedback in the comment section, share this with your friends, hit that bell for notifications, much appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, follow us on Spotify as well. All the episodes of Movie Mornings are up there. And like I said, we are going to be talking with TheBoomBoxx, aka Mr. Logan Lawson, today. Logan, how we doing?
Not too shabby. How you doing, mate?
Pretty good, man. I'm happy to be here with you, and cheers. This is our first live event, and very happy about that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for letting us slum it on your stream here. So I ate a big ice cube, which is never fun. But dude, I want to start talking about this music video, honestly, and how freaking creative it was. I thought it was awesome, dude, and it's everything I love. I mean, obviously, huge sci-fi fan. I got the Close Encounter shirt on. It's everything I love. I felt like you made this for me, even though I know that's definitely not true.
Yeah.
What kind of talk me through this process? Where did you get started with this thing? I mean, obviously, it was the song, right? I mean, it started with the song itself, and
yeah, it even started even before the song. Let me go back and figure out where exactly it started from, because I stopped making music back 2020-ish, after like my latest album, Horizon, which more space stuff. But
yeah. Well, I remember you telling me a long time ago there was some guys that got a hold of you. These are these guys, right? Because you showed me some samples that they had sent over that they wanted to put to your music, and I remember seeing that and being like, yeah, that's catered to me.
Yeah.
But this is the same team, right? Shout them out if you would. Actually,
it was Mixed Creatives.
Mixed Creatives, yes, thank you.
So they made a lot of stuff from like my Boomboxx Banger Stage, which is like a virtual DJ concert that we do on my channel, which we're gonna be doing another one here on October 28th. That's gonna be the next episode. So they made like that Boomboxx Banger Stage. They've made my logo underneath me this way. Here we go. They've made my album art. They've made like so much stuff for me. My starting soon screen, just everything. And they actually made a music video for Horizon on Encounter. They actually made that, and they actually did that for free. So that's why I'm like, I owe everything to them, because they wanted to try it. They've never done it before, and they're like, hey, we know this guy that makes music, so let's try this. And they did an awesome job on that for the first time. And then not only that, but I'm pretty sure one guy did it all. One guy by the name of Fab Jab, and dude's been awesome. I've known him for like 4 or 5 years. So it was one guy that did the entire thing. I'm pretty sure he was the same. One guy did transhumanism as well. So, but yeah, it started basically from Twitch, from getting back into Twitch back in May of 2021, because I redesigned a lot of things when I got back into it. And, with my logo being the main thing of it, it's very, very dystopian, very cyberpunky, I guess you can also say that. Very neon glowing.
So you redesigned things on Twitch based on what these guys had kind of done,
more or less,
based on the theme that they'd kind of given their music.
So which I had the vision of it, how I wanted like my logo to look and everything, and they just knocked it out of the park, like I said, like right there, like fucking they killed it. But I still had a knack for making like dubstep and trap music and everything like that. So I never really was into the whole cyberpunk kind of music. It didn't really catch me as like something like that's my niche kind of thing, until I received a free sample pack from like, I've got a bunch of different websites that I go for sample pack for sounds and samples and shit and everything. So I'm like, well, it was like a free one, just because they were just giving it out. I was like, okay, you know what, free, it's me, I'm gonna take it. So I checked it out. I was like, yo, it's kind of nice. So I'm like, okay. So I started playing around with some samples, and I'm like, yo, this is dope. And so then I was like, my Twitch is kind of that vibe where I've got the blues and the purples and the reds and the glowy stuff and everything. And I was just like, you know what? I kind of like this music. So I kind of catered to that a little bit. I started, like my starting soon videos or music would have like that cyberpunky kind of feel. Like I literally have a Spotify playlist that I play from, and I just pick different ones. I'm like, hey, this one sounds cool. So I thought about it. I was like, you know what? Like, I wonder if I can just make my own.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I've got that sample back. So I started playing around with it. And I actually had probably the beginning part of Transhumanism made for a long time. Like forever. And when that's what I always do. I'll make a section of a song, like a build up, or I'll make like a main like drop part or something like that, and then I just won't touch it again. I just be there forever. And then it's always on the days where I don't want to make music that I crank these things out. Anytime that I'm sitting here, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to sit here. I want to make a song for like this entire week. Every day I'm going to sit down, and it comes out and it's crap. It's always the days that I'm like, you know what? Fine. I'll mess around with some music, and then I'll play around, play with my keyboard and stuff, and then that just came out. I was like,
on average, how many mixes like haven't made it to anywhere? Like haven't been released?
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah. I'm probably sitting on like 20 or 30, like just samples that I've actually uploaded to my Discord. I mean, they're like minute samples, minute and a half. Some of them are full like songs that I'm like, I'm done making music. I'm done like making it for money, I should say that. So I always say that any music that I put out, I'm like, it's just gonna be for free. So I sit on quite a lot of it. And what's actually really funny about even all that was when I got a new PC, I was having PC issues with my old one, and I thought it was a software issue. It turns out in the end it was actually my power supply was actually going out. But I went as far as I went as far as like I'm just gonna factory reset my computer. Just do everything. Just factory reset it. I'm like, I've got to get to the bottom of this because I got to get back into like making music and streaming and stuff. And I did not realize that my music files were on a spot where they weren't gonna get saved. So it saved my pictures.
So gone, huh? It's gone.
It saved my pictures. It saved my MP3s, but it did not save those files. And I forgot all about that. So I was like, you know what? It's a bittersweet end because I'm not making music anymore. So it just kind of sucks. I'm like, man, I really wish I had that file, but I just can't get it back. So that was just a short little story. But basically, it was, what it came down to was when I made the beginning of that, I just sat on it for a while, and then just one random night, I was like, I'm going to just see what I can do with this. And then I cranked it out probably in about a week to a week and a half. Like just kept working on it piece by piece, working on like a little section, not the entire song, because that's when I noticed that things tend to go south, is when I try to make an entire song in like 2 nights. I'm like, nope, just piece by piece, edit things left and right, and just tweak a few things. And then that's how I ended up piecing everything together. And then I was like, sweet. I'm like, this is awesome. And then I had the full finished thing, and I sat on that for like probably another 4 or 5 months, not even thinking about it. I was like, this is cool. Forgot about it because I got back into Twitch. But yeah, so that's how the song came about.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. I think the song is fantastic. I actually think it's probably my favorite of yours, honestly, of all your songs. I just think there's something about this one that you're still in that experimental phase that was kind of going on in your last album, so to speak. But also, you found a way to do it to where it all feels very concise. And so I think that, to me, that was kind of where, after listening to your last album, I was like, that's kind of the direction I saw you going. I don't know, is that conscious to kind of make it maybe more concise in that way, or is that something that you just think came with doing it a long time and becoming more skilled at this?
I think it was a little bit of both. Like I took so like even like when I went from like my first original genre was like dance music, just that like, you know, that stuff. It was like, because it was super simple to make and it's super simple to put together. So I started with that, and then I got into dubstep, and then I took the things that I knew from making the previous genre into making dubstep, and then I took the
Hmm.
stuff that I made from dubstep into trap, and then trap into the cyberpunk stuff. So I've had like four or five different genres, and then I messed around with like orchestral stuff. I messed around with somatic stuff or cinematic, and so I'm like I've taken all these different like techniques that I've found to be useful for how I do things and threw them into that. So it was kind of like it evolved into making cyberpunk like music or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
Dark synth, I guess, is what it's actually called.
sure.
But yeah, and not only that, but it kind of almost did like a full circle too, because dark synth in itself is kind of got that beat, that what's called the four on the floor, that kick drum, hi hat, kick drum with the snare, and then hi hat. So that it kind of has that feel to it.
Hmm.
So, and that's how I started making music, was that beat. So it, like I said, it kind of made like a full circle. So yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like mixing the best of both worlds together, right? You're kind of
Hmm.
taking your old style and kind of bringing in
Yeah.
the more experimental style, newer style, I should say, and then just putting them together, or those two worlds just kind of colliding. And then, because when you really start to break it down, I mean, both sounds and both styles had to have come from you at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So you're really just putting all of you in this, is kind of what, that's the way I feel about it. And so I wanted you to kind of go back to the cyberpunk thing, because I know you kind of touched on kind of like seeing it and just saying like, oh yeah, that looks cool,
Hmm.
the sound is cool, I understand that appeals to you, but it seems to me that that's such a 180 from kind of where you were at, where you began. And so was there anything specific that just kind of drove you to this more science fiction cyberpunky type world that you were kind of starting to play with in the music? Because, well, I'll tell you what, and I mean this as a compliment, like I listened to this transhuman song, and yes, I understand there's a video that's a companion piece for it, but a lot of it's still a very kind of vague video. Like, what I love about this video is you really, there's stuff going on, but you have to put your own story together in your mind, and I feel like your music in a way is telling a story.
Hmm.
Like transhumanism, are you imagining a storyline when you're making the music, just the songs, or visuals, or anything when you're
I
making the songs themselves?
I actually did. When it came down to songs, the song itself doesn't. I guess it doesn't necessarily tell a story, but it's kind of like, oh gosh, I'm gonna butcher this saying. It's the sum is the story. It's not the actual song itself, but all of the songs tell the story. So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
like I did the same thing with Parallax, my album in 2018.
Yeah.
My first album, which I won't talk about, Press Play, which is no longer able to stream because it's crap. But my first album had no storyline. It was crap. I took it off Spotify. But that one, it was just like, that was my intro album. But anyway, Parallax was the one that actually started a story. And then Horizon, it didn't go off that. It wasn't even like a sequel. It was just, it told another story as well. And I could talk like hours about that. But basically, yeah, it was like the songs told a story. Horizon is easier to explain. It's basically what is it? Genesis is the first song, so it's basically you're on a spaceship. It's Genesis being the starting point of anything, more or less. We'll just call it that. Next up was Encounter. Um, so that's like encountering an enemy spaceship, and that's what that music video was kind of about, was you're encountering an enemy spaceship. Kind of think of like Star Wars ish a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had it was encountering an enemy spaceship. Next was Kill It, I believe. I'm pretty sure it was Kill It. Yes, I'm pretty sure. I had to think of like the order I put everything in. Basically it's just going ape shit on them, kind of thing. Like they're beating us. Like Encounters, like we're getting overrun. Kill It is basically we're gonna go hard in the Microsoft Paint. We're gonna like destroy this enemy fleet. And then Ruthless is just absolutely just obliterating, becoming the king of the universe, whatever you want to call it. That's the short version of it, the very very short version of it. But basically that's what it is. And so transhumanism actually didn't really have a story, more or less, but the idea behind transhumanism is what really kind of drove me to just I guess, love the music video as a whole, because transhumanism actually is a meaning, and it's basically what it means is that um, using science and either medicinal or physically medicinal cybernetics, you can make human life much more beneficial. Much more beneficial? Beneficialer? So, but that's it's basically taking science and like it's like cyberpunk
Right.
2077. It's like that. It's where you can have these giant claws coming out of your arm and to hunt down crime and criminals and stuff, or you can have better eyesight to be able to see in your 70s, 80s, 90s, or you can have a heart that doesn't stop for 500 years, kind of thing. It's like we have the ability to do that, and that's what transhumanism is all about, and it's an actual thing. Like it's a legit, it's a theory. I think it's what it is actually.
I'll tell you a story about a guy named George Lucas. Maybe you've heard of him. He when he first made his short film, and this is very resonant what you're telling me, because I know I've studied George almost my whole life, at least even before I knew I was studying George, because those Star Wars special editions VHS tapes, you would end the movie and then George Lucas would be talking to you to sleep for a half hour. So before I even knew it, I was always kind of studying George as a kid. But George, when he made his first short film, it was THX 1138. It was a student film. It was very silent, very visual. And when it came time to make that into a feature, when he finally got the funding to do that, they wanted him to write the screenplay. And he was like, I'm not a screenplay writer. I'm a visual storyteller. And, what's really cool about this is, like, to bring it full circle back into kind of what you're telling me, is like, I love THX 1138 because, like, it is a very visual movie. It's very vague. There is a screenplay, but it's very short-handed, if that makes sense. I think that really played into a lot of George's style going into Star Wars later on, is he just has like a lot of short-handed lines and things like that. But I think those visual moments that are just so, they suck you in and hypnotize you, to me, like, that always kind of meant something to George in my mind. Like, even though the audience it's kind of open for the audience to really make their own story out of it, like, it means something to George. I know it does, like, because it's just so, I don't know how to explain it. It's just so present. And like, when I watched this transhumanism video, I kind of think that to myself. It's like everything is so present that even if there's not a narrative that's just straight, it means something to the artist behind it, like you and Fab Jab. Like, I honestly, like, I really think that there's a lot of meaning in there, and what's cool about it is it could mean something different to both of you guys, and I think that's kind of interesting. How much discussion was there on narrative when going into this?
A lot. I mean, we originally so what after transhumanism was complete, and I never once it had actually been complete, I think, way back in probably August or so, maybe like September, like the fall autumn kind of season in 2021. And that was like after I started working on it, probably like shortly before I came back to streaming, because that's what I was doing after I got things like settled after my PC issues. I kind of got back into music for a little bit to try to kind of like get a library going again, and then I got back into Twitch. But that was actually the first song that I completed when I got my computer fixed and everything. So I sat on it for a few months, and then I believe it was, I could probably go back and look at my messages, but I believe it was in March of this year was when I first contacted him, like, hey, remember me? Because Fab Jab in himself, he's actually, they used to, the We Are Mixed Creatives, they were heavily involved in making Twitch stuff, like emotes and overlays and starting soons and everything. Like, they made so much stuff for me. That's how they kind of got their kick, their liftoff kind of thing. And now Fab Jab himself has scaled back. He's told me he's scaled back his clientele from streaming, and now he's doing big stuff, like big stuff, like for like animated, what was it? Animated. It's like animated books almost. I forget what they're called.
It was like manga, or
no, it's like it's not like audiobooks. But for what it's worth, I know there's a word for it, but basically it's like
Huh.
it's like animated books that you can watch, kind of thing. And it's like little,
Anybody in the chat know?
yeah, it's like I'm sitting there going like, well, what is it called?
Yeah.
But it's basically it's like little scenes from different things in his book in books. But so Tara said art book, kind of, yeah, yeah,
Art book.
yeah.
Okay.
So like it would be an actual book, and but yeah, he would make scenes for it, and he's made so much stuff. Like his social medias are filled with just this incredible stuff, and his quality is just skyrocketed. So that's how we got to start. And so he said he scaled back his clientele, but he's done so much stuff for me. But he's like, "You're a client, like you're still in." I'm like, "Yes." Thank God, because I don't know anybody else that knows me and knows our like the history behind my stuff.
Right.
If I were to have gone to anybody else, I don't think they would have nailed the scene and just how things go on my stream and whatnot. Because I actually originally
Yeah.
told him that I wanted a new intro movie, like a new intro thing, that because I've got one that I kind of made that it was okay. My chat knows what it was, but I made that myself, and yeah, it was okay. But I was like, I want something like that. I was like, oh, I can use transhumanism for it because it's perfect, and I forgot all about it. So that's how it started. I was like, I just want a starting soon, or like an intro video for my Twitch. And then it just evolved from there. It went from that to basically, you know what? Let's make a music video. Let's just do it. Like, you've already made one. Let's do it again. And so I'm like, this time, let me pay you, kind of thing, because I'm like, you're not doing this for free. I'm like, nor would he allow it. But yeah, that's when he started, was in March, and he got done with it. I think it was in August. I want to say like August 15th, I think, is when we debuted it for my, what we called a Boomboxx 2.0, for my channel. That was that was the main thing right there. And then like changed more stuff on my Twitch as well. But that was the main thing. So he worked on it from March to August of this year. And
What was the moment or the thing that happened in the process that made you realize this had to be more ambitious than anything you'd ever done before?
Actually, there was a very key thing that he did that he's never done in any of his stuff, which was using live video. So like I'm actually in it, kind of thing. Like that's not CGI.
Yeah.
Like that's me, kind of thing.
Right. Which is cool.
Yeah.
By the way. I love that. Yeah.
So that was one thing he said, that he goes, hey, let's try this. So let's see what we can do here. Excuse me. That was coming out one way or another. But he's like, I want to try some live shots. I want to try and see how this is going to work. And he goes, you think you can do this? I'm like, I got a green screen. Let's try it. Like, I'm all for exploring different horizons, expanding boundaries and everything. So we definitely did that. And I had my green screen, which I've since taken down. So, I had, of course, like my wife and everything, and she was helping me video these different shots that he was describing. And I was like, I got a green screen, so this is going to work great. So we actually did, what was it, 1, 2, 3, 4 different videos with me and my green screen. So everything that you're seeing there, which is really funny, like I've got, like, of course, when I'm actually like doing like the DJ moves, like I'm actually up there at the booth or whatever. Little Easter egg, I don't have my headphones plugged in. So they are unplugged. I'm not hearing anything through these. I'm actually playing it on my phone. I'm playing the song on my phone so I can move to the beat and everything. So it was just so different. I'm sure if somebody were to look through my window and saw me just doing this and heard like no music, they thought I was crazy. But so that's how I got on time with everything. And the other one was where I was just kind of like slowly looking up, that's when the break to the beat is going on, where I'm just, you get that glow from the side. I think I'm like looking this way, and you see this glow where I'm slowly looking up. So that was one thing, and he just nailed it. Like he's never done that before, and like you couldn't even tell. It looks professionally made, because basically it is. But I'm like, dude, I didn't even have proper lighting for this green screen, and you still somehow keyed out all of that. I don't know how he does it, because I have issues with my green screen all the time, and here he is throwing me into some cyberpunk kind of stage.
Right, exactly. Well, talk to me about that visual a little bit, where you're actually in the video, which I remember. I think it kind of relates to your virtual concerts. Talk to me about virtual concerts too, and about how all that got started, because I actually think it's pretty fascinating.
That one was one too, where when I got into DJing, in 2020, like shortly before the lockdowns and everything happened, which
Yeah.
lighted the silver lining is what it was. I had a lot of time to sit in my room till 5 6 a.m. practicing and whatnot. Um, and I had done them before because I wanted to get into DJing, and I used Twitch as a way to kind of introduce myself into it. Because if I mess up, it's no big deal. Like, I'm having fun. That's what I always do on my Twitch. So I was
Right.
just doing like stuff in my room where I had an old desk and whatnot, and I would have like I was like over here in the corner. I had my camera at the opposite end of my room, and I had like some lights at the top of my room here, and I just had them on like rainbows, so they just go through all the colors. And I was just sitting there just playing music, trying some like practicing transitions and whatnot. So that's how that kind of started, like doing DJ streams. And it was fun
Hmm.
because people could just listen to music while they play games
Yeah.
and whatnot. So it started with that, and then we moved to I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna buy some more lights, which is what
Mm.
obviously like I'm actually working on some lighting stuff right now for an event I've got coming up next Friday. So I've got like I actually bought some actual DJ lights, and then we did that. So we evolved from just doing it with these little rope lights around my room to actual DJ lighting. And then I was like, what would be really cool? I'm like, I wonder if I can actually put myself onto a stage, like a little virtual stage. So I
Right.
I started off googling uh, a a stage concept kind of thing because I'm like, I'm just going to Photoshop some stuff out of it. And I
Yeah.
found this one, I can't remember what it was, but I want to say it was like from like Ultra Miami Festival or something like that. And I basically what I did, it was just like a I don't know, a colored rendering, if you even want to call it like that, like of like almost like a cartoony kind of like rendering where it definitely wasn't like a picture. It was definitely a rendering of it. And it was like front facing, and I basically just cropped out all the screens is what I did, and I just cut them all out, and then I put an audio video equalizer thing like program on my
Hmm.
computer. I basically put that behind the overlay, and so it would actually look like it was showing up on the screens as I was going to the music. And that was like one of my first few ones that I did, and I did a lot of like OBS stuff for like cropping things and everything. And I got a green screen to work. I got a green screen. It used to be behind me, but again I took that down. So that was like my first few DJ streams, and I did them for a little bit. But I'm sitting there going like, like this could be so much more fun. I'm like, I know who to contact for this. So I
Right.
contacted Fab again and said, hey, how do you feel about making me a stage? And I showed him what I had, and he was just like he was in my freaking mind. Like he knew exactly what I wanted, knew exactly like the color schemes, and he made it a live stage, so it wasn't just stagnant where I just had like videos behind a cutout like thing of a picture. And he made everything live and 3D, and it was so cool. And I'm like, yep, that's what I want. That's my stage right there. So now, and it's
Right.
got my name and everything on it, my logo. I've actually added my own lighting effects to it, which
Yeah.
he allowed me the capability to do that. So that's how that kind of became too. I was like, all right, I went from just DJing with like rope lights to actually having a green green screen, green screen and like virtual stage, and then I was like boombox bangers. So that was over the process of about 2 years, maybe not quite 2 years, maybe about a year. I think we did that. I think we did it in we started in late 2020, I think ish. Yeah, it was very. I want to say it was like yeah, late 2020 was when I started that, and then I did. I think I did like 4 or 5 episodes of
Hmm.
it, and I stopped in February of 2021 because that's when I started having my PC issues and I couldn't stream anymore.
I
So
see.
from February, March, April, and May, like I didn't stream. Like I did that one last episode like February like 8th or something like that, like the very beginning of February, and then I didn't get back into streaming until May. And then
Mm.
during that time when I finally figured out my PC issue stuff, that's when I kind of was like, I'll mess around with music a little bit more. So that's kind of how everything's being roped in.
Yeah. Well, I think that's so kind of fascinating too, the fact that you kind of related streaming on Twitch to being a virtual DJ too, because it's like it is somewhat of the same thing, and to some degree, except there's a lot more involved. I would say probably in the virtual DJ space, but on the same hand, I think that's cool you dive into that because like for us it seems simple, but for a lot of people, I don't think they realize like how small of a room you're actually doing
Oh
that from.
God.
And that's like, to me, that is just one of the most fascinating parts about this whole thing. And you seem to really talk about Fab Jab at this point as if he really understands you and
Oh
what
yeah.
you want and your needs. And that's, I think, why the partnership, to me, in any case, has been so successful in terms of everything you guys have done together. Do you foresee that being a lifetime partnership, or is that something that, are you a little bit more open to trying to work with different creators now that he's gotten you so far?
I mean, it goes even beyond just having him as my. I'm not claiming him as my own by any means. Of like my personal VFX artist or anything like that, because obviously he does it for a lot of other people. But I've actually also played like Overwatch with him. I've played
Yeah.
because I know he like when I first kind of got to know him and whatnot, when he was making like my logo and like my starting soon screen and everything like that. Yeah, like I actually gamed with him on Overwatch a lot because that was like the one game that we had together. So with him and then his other teammate Killer Bree, which I haven't heard from much from her lately because she was more of like the emote and like picture kind of stuff, whereas he was more of the overlays and the logos and everything. She was like really good with emotes and badges and everything like that. So, but I've played with her before as well. Both of them are awesome. So I actually got to know him on a more personal level. So it was more. I don't consider him um, a business. In my viewpoint, I consider him like a really good friend because like that's just
Yeah.
how I've known him. Because like we've talked a little bit too, like even during COVID and whatnot. Like we talk back and forth, like, hey, hope you're doing well, hope everything's good, like best wishes kind of thing, and like not even wanting anything from him. I'm just like, hey, wishing you well because I know him. Like it was like that. So it's even beyond just that. But as far as like I don't think I would go to anybody else really for anything just because of how well he knows my stuff and what it looks like. Because of course, he has all my files and whatnot. So if I ever need stuff, that's probably who I end up going with. Uh, as far as everything except for emotes, because I don't think he really does that stuff much anymore. He probably could easily, but I always like to go big or go home when it comes to that kind of stuff. And I make my own emotes, so it's like if I ever want to change my overlay, I'm like, hey Fab, let's do this.
Right.
So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I think that's cool. I mean, to me, it's like if you never have any success at all, but you did everything you did working with your friends, you've
Mhm.
lived a life in a way. Because to me, it's a lot of the reason I've started podcasting. It's like I get to hang out with my friends and talk shit, and that's been rewarding
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. Even with the minimal amount of success that we've actually had, it's been rewarding to
Yeah.
just talk shit with my friends.
Yeah.
And so if you can consider Fab Jab in your case a friend, then it's just all, you're doing it for fun at this point. And I think that that's very cool, and that'll actually take you even further in my personal opinion. But I did want to know, I mean, as well, what's next for you in this then? I mean, are you thinking about making your magnum opus? Are you going to do a 16-minute song with a 16-minute video that's like the best thing you've ever done? That's gonna, I don't know, what's next?
Excuse me. Excuse me.
You okay?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm every time I think I've peaked, I make something else.
Yeah.
Like I never anticipated even doing transhumanism. I never anticipated doing boombox banger stages. I never anticipated even getting into DJing. So it's like at this point, when we released Boomboxx 2.0 back in August, we released the new music video. We changed up all the alerts on Twitch, and we actually released merch as well. That I'll save that kind of stuff for like the after everything and whatnot, but because there's a little bit more behind that, but doesn't really pertain to what I'm going to say here, but it's just like I feel like I've hit that spot where I don't really need anything else. Um, Mainly because I don't know what I would change. Because nowadays everything is very much based around like my Twitch and my streaming and whatnot. I've I've canceled plans to stream. I've canceled stream to go do plans as well.
Yeah.
But I've yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be one of those things where who knows, like I might actually wake up tomorrow and be like, you know what? I think I think I want a new overlay. Like it was one of those things where I just woke up and like, I want a new stage. I want a new intro. And I'm like, I think I want to make a music video today. Yeah. So it's like, I really don't know.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
I bet you do more. I bet you do more music videos or something. Like, I feel like too, the cool thing about this is, like you said, it's not a straight narrative, but I guarantee, like we were saying earlier, this video narratively kind of means something to you.
Mhm.
And like, I feel like that's going to lead to more for you. Like, I really do. I feel like you're going to want to take this sort of whatever this is, whatever it means to you personally, and you're going to want to expand on it. And that's my opinion of what I bet you'll do. It might not be tomorrow, like you said, but it could be any, any time. I bet you do in the future for sure. But you did kind of talk about, now you're really starting to get into DJing, which I think is also very cool, and you're doing a lot of weddings, which by the way, has Sam made you watch House of the Dragon yet?
Not yet. She's gonna try to, I'm sure.
Okay, well, there was a scene. This is a quick little DJ anecdote for you, but there was a scene where there was a wedding. I won't give much away for those who aren't caught up. There was a scene in the past couple episodes where there was a wedding, and there was a part where they were doing a dance, and I was like, when I did my video on the episode, I related it. I called it the medieval cha-cha slide, because that's literally how I felt about it. But I'm sure you can relate to that too, because you've done weddings. But yeah, man, I mean, talk about that. How's that going for you?
What I've done, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've done 4 weddings so far this year. 4 weddings? I think 4 weddings. Yeah. I've probably done more, but I can't remember. With 2 more upcoming, plus an event for the YMCA here. So it's like I honestly, I owe it to one of my buddies, Matt, who is at the YMCA. That's how I kind of got my start, because I do all of their events for free, but they give me a YMCA membership. That's how I like that. Like, that's the trade-off. I haven't used it. But it's there if I want it. But so he's, they've got like my business cards and whatnot there, and that's how I've also done a lot of the weddings at, like the one I just did this past weekend was at their little camp area, their little venue that they've got.
Right.
And that's how I got to do the wedding I did this past weekend, which was so much fun. I mean, it was a party on top of a party for sure, and the couple was awesome. Which they actually requested me to play for 2 hours longer than what I was originally supposed to be there for, which they were going to pay me, but I had already been there for like probably 12 hours, and I'm like,
yeah,
I'm a little tired, and which they fully understood. They're like, no, it's okay, like, we were just curious, and they tipped me a little bit too, because I played for about like a half hour longer, but just because I was having fun. But they also had like a little Bluetooth speaker that they used as well, and I'm sure they went to the wee hours easily of the morning, because it was a crazy party. Those people knew how to party, which was great, because I like those kinds of those weddings. The past 2 I did in July were still great. That was the first time I actually did a wedding on a Saturday and then a wedding on a Sunday. And then I did one in August, which was I don't say this in any type of bad way, but it was a backyard reception, because that's literally what it was. Like this couple went out to Vegas, and they're like, they'd been like engaged forever, and they're like, you know what? Screw it, let's get married right now. So they went like, while they're in Vegas, they got married, and they came back. They're like, we're gonna save a lot of money on a wedding. We're just gonna have a great time. Yeah, just like spend the money for the reception. And those people were awesome too, because that was more personable. It was so laid back, and they were like, people were coming up and talking to me. I got to see some drag cars that these people like race, these $100,000 drag cars. I'm like, that kind of stuff, like that kind of blows my mind too, with just that. Like, I'm like, I'm a DJ and I'm checking out this car that I'm afraid if I cough around it, I'm gonna have to owe them money, kind of thing. So we did that one. Then of course, like I said, we had the one this past weekend. I've got 2 more coming up, which ironically, the one on October 22nd is a Harry Potter themed wedding.
Nice.
Which is what ours was.
Is Sam going to that?
Yeah, she's gonna.
I was gonna say she better go to that. Yeah. I mean, that's right up her alley. So I figure you'd be taking her for sure. But no, it's crazy to say that, because I've been to both. I've done you and I have been to a couple halls together actually
Mhm.
already, with those types of weddings. But I've also been to the backyard situation where they got married elsewhere, but then they did the reception in a backyard or something like that, or at their home.
Yeah.
And to me, you're right. Like, it's so much more laid back, because
Oh,
I
yeah.
wonder if more people should do it that way, because you're not stressed out about the wedding anymore. It's
Mhm.
done. You did
Mhm.
it a while back. You're married. Forget it. This is for your friends, and this is a hangout moment, and those need to be done more often,
Oh, yeah.
honestly. Like, I love the halls and all that where you get the country clubs, and I get that. That's fun, and it's great, and it's beautiful, and I understand that, and it's traditional. But on the same hand, I do feel like that backyard sort of solution, or home solution, whatever you want to do, is sometimes more viable. You're just a little less stressed. You don't have to worry about so much anymore. The wedding's done, you know?
Mhm. Yep.
So I think that's actually pretty interesting that you brought that up, because I always felt that way about those types as well,
Yeah.
to where they are just so much more laid back. You get to
Yeah.
hang out quite a bit. So beyond weddings, though, and all that, you did talk about the YMCA, which is pretty cool. How'd you get involved in that?
So my buddy Matt, he's the, I'll call him the project manager. I don't know what his actual title is, but um, he is the one who kind of like runs everything there, and they do like a lot of events. They do a lot of 5K runs and whatnot, and basically they just wanted something more than a megaphone. I'm pretty sure they started off with a megaphone, then they had like a Bluetooth speaker that kind of played music, and then when I got into it, I think I started there last year. My first event for them, my actual first DJ event, was at the Haynes Apperson Festival on July 4th. I think it was like actually like July 5th or something like that, whatever. But basically, it's centered around July 4th. And I'm like, isn't that like a multi-thousand crowd kind of thing? And I've never done anything public before. I've only done stuff on Twitch. I'm like, oh shit. So he's like, dude, don't worry. It's like, it's no big deal. It's literally like, just show up here at 8 a.m. I'm like, wait, huh?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 8 a.m. on a Saturday?
Right.
First off.
Early.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
he goes, the race starts at 8 a.m. I'm like, oh, okay. He goes, all we need is just music. He goes, you don't have to like perform. You don't have to go like crazy. He goes, we just need music and we need a microphone. I'm like, okay. And he's like, and the other thing is I can't pay you. I'm like, why would I, like, not to be like rude, but like, why would I want to do that for, kind of thing?
I feel like, well, pickers can't be choosers now.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what are we doing here?
So I told him, I was like, okay, well, tell you what, I'm like, honestly, this will be a great thing. It'll get me into the door. It'll get like, it'll get my foot in, kind of thing. So I was like,
yeah.
He goes, yeah, you just need music. Like, that's all we need. We just need music. Just some dance music, some hype stuff, some, maybe some, different genres. And I was like, okay, yeah, no big deal. So I ended up, I did that, and that was actually great, because I had the microphone there, and it was like everybody. What really kind of opened my eyes was at the end of the race. They did like the I don't want to say it was a race. It was like I think it was like kind of like an unofficial 5K, more or less, where everybody got awards, kind of thing, or like the first 30 that finished. But then they also gave out like the awards for like the fastest runner, fastest walker. I didn't know that was a thing, but.
That's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, and like and that kind of stuff. But everybody ended up getting awards and everything. But so what was really interesting was that at the end there was probably every bit of like 120, 150 people, and they're all like around like watching my booth. I've got like my facade and everything, and Matt's doing all the talking. I'm just kind of sitting back like checking audio levels, make sure there's no feedback and everything like that. So, and I was like, you know what? Like, this is actually kind of nice. Like, I like when people watch me, not to sound selfish and conceited, but this is actually kind of nice. So I was like, yo, I like this. Yeah. So, he just, I had known him from doing the haunted house I'd done for the past like 13 years, which unfortunately I'd stopped doing that now because I'm too busy now. But that's how I got to know him. So I'd known him for a long time, probably 10 plus years. And when he found out like that I was into DJing, he goes, I know somebody who's got speakers. I know somebody who's got music. I know somebody who we can not pay, and bring him in here. And yeah, even the YMCA when he pitched it to him, they're like, "Sounds great, bring him in." Like everybody was on board. So now every time I do their events and whatnot, I was like, I'd go there and they're like, "Hey, how's it going? Hey, I remember you." Like they know me now. I'm like, that's really cool.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I mean, that's cool to kind of get into something like that on that very personal level. I think that's pretty cool. And I definitely understand when you were kind of going earlier in the story about just kind of doing an event to get your foot in the door. Cause like how else do you do it? But there was kind of a part of that story that really reminded me. And oh gosh, I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. So this is kind of a old Hollywood story, and maybe the chat knows the guy's name. It's Peter something is the guy's name. He was a real guy in Hollywood. He was a major Hollywood producer. And you kind of talking about the just play some music part of that just kind of reminded me of this, where it was he was this major Hollywood producer, and there was a movie that came out in 2021. It was Licorice Pizza, and it was kind of based around old Hollywood. And they even had, even though it was a small role, Bradley Cooper played this guy in the most over the top role you'll ever see Bradley Cooper do. But Peter something, I can't remember his name, but either way, there's a real classic Hollywood story about this guy. He was going to be a producer on the new Superman movie. And I don't know if you know who Kevin Smith is. He did like Clerks and all that. Yeah. So Kevin Smith was actually going to direct the Superman movie with Nicolas Cage was going to star. And it was a whole thing, I think. Yeah. So he kind of didn't sell the script, but he wrote a script and it got sent to this Peter guy who was a big producer in Hollywood. And Kevin was so excited to be able to talk with him about the script he wrote, because it's like this is the biggest thing he'd ever done at that point, was to try to make a Superman movie. And this Peter guy, he gets to the meeting, and the Peter guy, it's a good story. You'll have to look it up online. I can't do it to tell it the way Kevin does, but he's just sitting there on the couch, and the guy just like lays down on his couch while Kevin's trying to talk to him about the script. And then he would throw out ideas like, well, if it's Superman, there needs to be polar bears. And Kevin Smith would be like, well, it's fucking Superman. Like, the story you were telling me I related it to that so much, because it's just this guy literally who just knew nothing about movies, just knew he wanted a movie made. It's kind of what that reminded me of. The guy didn't really know a lot about music, but he just knew he wanted music. And like, it's insane how many types of people like that you'll run into. And like, a lot of these people are leaders in the industry, not to insult the person who graciously let you do the event. I mean, like, honestly, because it was very gracious of him to do, and you would never want to take that for granted. Kind of got you in, like you said, it was your foot in the door. And I think that's, you got to be gracious about that at the movies, the fact that they let you do that, and it got you to start. So where from the YMCA would you go with this DJing? I mean, is there an end game in mind for DJing?
I mean, right now it's the end game right now is to quit my job and be a DJ full time.
That would be wonderful, right? Which
my coworkers in Boston are better. I'm pretty sure they know that, so like that's no news to them if any of them see this. But that's definitely the end game right there. Is definitely because it's fun because of all the weddings I've been to, like sister-in-laws back in April. Those guys were crazy awesome. Like, they're the ones that actually offered me a job. I don't know if you heard about that. Like, they offered me the job to go to work with them, and I'm like, yeah, if only I was a resident, awesome. And I'm not 4 hours away.
Exactly.
So, but when I saw them, I was like, that's exactly, like, it was almost like a role model status. Like, those were the ones that, like, I'm like, yeah, I want to be just like that, because this was so much fun. They had so much equipment, which I'm gawking over, like, their stuff and their setup and everything. But yeah, awesome. Like, I would definitely, actually, like, this year, Matt contacted me, like, probably like around like April or May, and he goes, hey, you want to do the YMCA stuff again this year? Or he was like, just checking, like, you're not obligated. He's like, same stuff, same events and everything. He goes, except for the glow in the mo that we're doing this October. And I'm like, yep, I want to do that. Like, I want to do it all, kind of thing, because it just helps me so much. It helps me like build my library, build my confidence and everything. Like, doing all the weddings, every single wedding I do, I get nervous AF with every single one I do. And it doesn't change. Like, I constantly think about, like, okay, how can I make this better? How can I make this better? And so that actually helps me a lot too. But I think I'll continue doing everything for them, just because, like, I really owe them at least that much. Just because they helped me get my foot in the door. Like, they are the ones that, like, I never asked them to promote me, not once. He took it upon himself to put my business cards out there and make me the preferred DJ for the venue, their campsite coning. They put my stuff out there for that. He constantly tells people like around and whatnot, and then it kind of spreads like wildfire after that. Like when you do a wedding, I lay out my business cards, and at every single wedding, people have taken business cards. I've actually got people at my job to take business cards, and so it just spreads like that. It just goes like out. Like if you get 2 business cards, you do like a wedding, then from there you can get like 5 more business cards handed out, and then it's just like weddings from there, and then it's just like eventually it just takes over, and then people realize, hey, this guy does events of all kind, like not just weddings, but I do mud runs for kids for the YMCA, and I've done the Haynes Apperson. I'm doing the Glow in the Mo. I'm doing the turkey trot in November that I gotta wake up on not Black Friday, Thanksgiving Day at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
to go do that for people that want to wake up at 8 or 6 a.m. to be there at 8 to run in 20-degree weather. I'm like, I love my job. I love my job, kind of thing. But yeah,
exactly. Well, I mean, I imagine too, you've done probably a lot of research to try to figure out how to even crack into this type of business. I mean, there had to be some research already put in on your end from this. So realistically, right now, how far away do you feel? And please tell me in centimeters. No, tell me how far away you feel from reaching your actual goal, like at this point.
I mean, I think I'm a solid, as far as like actually quitting my job and being a full-time DJ, I think I'm a little ways away. Like, I ain't gonna try to like sell myself short by any means, but I'm definitely of that nature where I'm probably, I would say like 2 years away. Yeah. If I can continue doing this, like two years ago when I first started, I had no events, nothing for that first year, from like probably, what was it, like February-ish or something like that, 2020. I think it was when I got my February or March, I can't remember, one of those months when I first got my mixer, and I was just playing around, with it and everything, to now 2 years later, and now I'm like, I've got the proper equipment, I've got the proper like setup and everything, and the knowledge, at least a little bit, to do weddings. Obviously I've done quite a few, and that took 2 years, and it's like, no, I don't make enough to quit my job right now, and which I've actually been told by multiple sources that I need to raise my rate, and I'm sitting there going like, I'm still new, like I know I could charge more, but I would rather make a little bit and perform better than that rather than charge a lot and not perform as great as what they're paying me for. So if I can do that, and then during like the winter season, or like the off season, if there's an off season for being married, I guess, but it's like, if I, during that time when I can like explore more and then raise my rates, I'm slowly doing it. I think I started at like $50 an hour.
Yeah.
And now I think I'm like creeping up on like the $65-$70 an hour, and testing those waters, because I know like there's one that the Harry Potter one, I think it's actually just a reception. We're doing it for 5 hours, 5 hours, like 4 to 9 or something like that. And I told them $400. So that's creeping up of that $80-$85 range. And they're like, yep, sounds fine. I'm like,
yeah. Well, okay. Do you set a price based on the size of the hall, or is it just, do you just have one flat rate that everybody pays right now?
Right now it's kind of based off like what they need. So for like, if they just need a reception kind of thing, like we'll take the one that I did in August, where it was that backyard reception. I think I only charged them, I think I was there for, oh gosh, I don't even know how long I was there for, probably like 5-6 hours. I think I charged them $300. And I actually told them $400. $400. And I actually charged them $300. They actually ended up giving me $350. And the only reason I told them $400 was because, or I told them $400 just because it was like, it's outside. I was like, okay, if I bring all my stuff, like I brought my lights, I brought, of course, my mixer, my speakers, everything. Typically, if I bring my lights and I use them, that's just included in the price. If I don't use my lights, I take them off. Well, it was outside in August. It didn't get dark till like 9:30, and by that time people had already left, and there's just a few people left hanging out. So I was like, I didn't use my lights, so I told them, I said, hey, they're like, okay, how much do we owe you? Was it $400? And I said, call it $300 because I didn't use my lights. And they're like,
okay.
So? And I was like, Just take them off because I didn't use them. Like, I'm like, why would I charge you for something that I said
Right.
I would use, but it was too light out, and they didn't bother with that at all. Like, they didn't care. And they're like, no,
Hmm.
like that's okay. And I was like, no, like seriously, 300 is fine. They're like, too bad, you're getting 350. I'm like, okay. Like I wasn't
Super
gonna say
cool.
no, like they
Awesome.
weren't. So it really depends on what all they want. Like
I see.
typically when for a wedding, they want obviously the MC, music, lights, party music. I mean, they really don't. If they want more than that,
Yeah.
I don't know what it would be, but it really just depends on what they want. So if they want me to, start, I don't know, bowing down to people as they come in through the door or something like that. I don't know. Like if they just want some absurd crazy thing, I'm like, okay, listen, we're
Mhm.
gonna charge a little bit more. But no, it's really based off.
So
I
it
have
sounds like it.
okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
Go
well,
ahead.
I was just like gonna say like it starts at like
Well, I was just
50
gonna
an hour and then it kind of goes
say
from there.
it sounds like it's based on time.
Yeah, it's kind of based on time, more or less, and then it goes from there. Like we'll
15
say,
hour. That's what I was calculating.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it kind of just goes from there.
Yeah, so that makes sense. Yeah, and then mostly the gear is always going to be the same that you use, but like lights are kind of a factor, right? So that makes a lot of sense
Mhm.
actually when you say it that way. That lights would be kind of a factor into that as well. Because I was wondering when you said equipment or what they need, I was like, what equipment wouldn't you need? But then you said the lights, and that kind of clicked with me a little bit more,
Yeah.
or a little bit better. That would definitely be a factor, especially an outdoor event during the day. Why would you need the lights? So that makes a lot of sense too. Yeah, so man, I was kind of wondering too. I mean, you got DJing going on, you got music going on, and it's like it's a amazing thing. I mean, is there anything else you're looking to pursue at this point? I mean, I know you kind of said that you were kind of like, you don't know what else you need. I mean,
Yeah.
Twitch is a big thing, but how did Twitch get started? Let's kind of start there, because
Oh man.
like what kind of got you into that first?
Um. Well, yeah. I mean, as far as like anything else I got going on, I really don't like really have much else. I mean, it's like Twitch, DJing, work. Like that's about as much as I can hold on my plate at this point. but but
Yeah.
as far as like Twitch, hell, I think I started like 4 years ago, 2018 ish, 2017 ish. I think it was 2018. Oh, my nose itches, but I actually got started from a buddy of mine. Yeah, it had to be 2018 because it was after my first album release, which was in April of 2017. No, May 15th, 2017. I don't know why I forgot that. But so buddy of mine messages me on Facebook and he said, "Hey, dude, there's a Twitch streamer that's playing your music on his stream." I'm like, "On his stream?" I'm like, "Huh? What are you talking about?" I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about, man?" And so he goes, "Yeah." He's like, "This guy, he's playing your music on stream." I'm like, and he sends me the link and everything, and I go to it, and I'm like, "Yeah, he's playing my music. Cool. This is awesome." I was like, I had no idea what Twitch was. Like, I knew of it, but I'm sitting there going like, I thought it was like basically esports at this point. Like, back then I wasn't really into it.
Right.
I didn't really care to. Um, so I didn't really know much about it, and I was like, "Oh, this is kind of cool." And then so I popped into a stream and then talked to him for a little bit, and he made the connection. He's like, "Oh, your username is the same artist as I'm listening to. You must be the person that made this song." So talked to him about it, and he was asking if I had streamed or like my music production or anything like that. And I was like, "No." I was like, "This is
Right.
legit the first time I've even been on Twitch. I'm surprised my username is even available," kind of thing. Uh, so he's like, "Well, yeah, you should definitely do that. You need to check it out." And I'm sitting there going like, I have a PC that could do that. Like, I've got a pretty decent gaming PC back then, which was my old one. And I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
Screw it. Might as well just try it. And like, 'cause what else am I going to do at night? Like, I'm just sitting here, just like, might as well just stream it. So I started from there and just kind of
Right.
grew a little bit of a community from back then. And, just I did a little bit of that. And then I would play some games. I'm like, oh, it's not that hard to stream. It really isn't that
Right.
hard. It's just hard to do everything else, like keep a schedule,
Yeah.
engage in a community, run a
Yeah.
Discord, watch people stream, network. Like, that's the hard part.
It really is.
Streaming's easy, just play your game. But it's everything else.
Right.
So that's
Yeah.
kind of how I got started, was through that, which was just making music. And people would come in and like we'd basically what we would do is we'd make little we'd make like little beats or something like that, little melodies and stuff, and that's like what we do on stream, and we just have fun with it. Like I would only stream for like 2 hours or something like that, and that's how it started. And then I was like, you know what? I was like, I'm gonna play some games. So I started with playing like Rocket League, which was I thought, I was like, yeah, this is gonna be cool. Like I'm gonna play Rocket League. Like yeah, I'm gonna have hundreds of viewers and shit. And like, hell no, Rocket League's so fucking saturated on Twitch. Like ain't nobody gonna be watching me. So found that out the hard way. But
Right.
so we went from there and just kind of like dived into like a bunch of different stuff, and then we just kind of evolved into what we are now, which is a DJ streamer that likes to play Farming Simulator, apparently. So,
Well, I like how you described that, but isn't it like it's amazing how just one thing kind of led to the next thing and the next thing, and that's just been kind of your whole way of doing things. And I find that with myself too. It's like I get involved in one thing, somehow that is connected to the next thing I do creatively, and that's kind of been part of the fun of the journey. Is like I find everything is related, everything somehow it's related to everything, and that's been awesome. That's been awesome for me, and that's great. That's kind of how it happened for you as well. You're right, man. I mean, that is the tough part. I mean, I don't stream games often or really at all anymore, but like honestly for me it's been like with the podcasting, it's been keeping the schedule, it's been engaging with the community. It's social media I'm terrible at. I'll tell everybody right now who wants to follow me, I'm terrible at social media. If you go follow the Interact pages right now, we barely have any posts. We promoted this event today because it was our first live event, but like we're bad, we're terrible at it. We got to get better at it, and that's been part of the struggle. It's crazy. You would think everything else you can learn, but like it's with social media, learning to engage with the community, that's been extremely difficult. And it's funny too, man. I mean, I'll tell you what, like I don't know if you take offense to the word nerd, but ever since like I've gotten into streaming and stuff, like I remember I told Jose, who might be in the chat right now, type 1 Latino, shout out if you're still there. I don't know if he's in there or not, but I remember telling him, like when we kind of were getting into this, streaming and podcasting and all that, like you're a real nerd when you talk about PCs the way that other one talks about cars. And that's really the real indicator there. And I feel like you got that nerdy bone too, which is pretty cool, man.
hell yeah.
And that's actually it's so much fun to talk to you because of it. Yeah, dude, that's fantastic. I mean, so yeah, I mean, this is movie mornings. I mean, is there any entertainment you are watching? I know you told me Sam hasn't gotten you into House of the Dragon yet or anything. Is there anything you've been watching, or what was the last thing you watched that you thought was just really great?
I mean, lately, I haven't like really, honestly, I haven't really watched much lately. Just because of the fact I've just been so busy. It's like, honestly, the only time I really get to watch anything is like on my lunch break at work, and it's like I watch like The Office because I know it's like quick episodes, so I know I can like
20
watch
20 minutes, right?
Yeah, it's like I can watch that while I eat and everything. I'm like, okay, I know my lunch break is up, this episode's 28 minutes long, okay, cool, and I get back to work kind of thing. But like lately, like I haven't really watched much as far as like TV goes. Like it's just been like, I don't know, I've been really too busy to really watch for. I mean, hell, I think the animals watch more TV. They watch more Animal Planet than we even watch TV at this point. So
yeah,
but yeah, I know one thing that of course I'm always excited for is when I found out that Deadpool 3 was going to get released. So
oh my gosh, that's big news.
Yeah,
right now actually. Did you saw this? Ryan Reynolds broke the internet. I've said this from the beginning, marketing genius, this guy, right? Because I remember when Deadpool 2 was coming out. I think both Deadpools he did this for. I'll take that back. We walked into Walmart, you go back to the DVD Blu-ray section, and like they had like a bunch of the old classic movies, but Deadpool was suddenly on the cover of it.
Yeah.
Like you'd pick up Terminator and it was Deadpool as the Terminator on the cover.
Yeah.
Like marketing genius. Like I want to know who his team is to learn how to market better like that. And then you look at this, and we were doing a show about this actually because we were talking about D23, which is Disney's big event they do every year. It's their big expo, and they always say, everybody drop what you're doing, pay attention to us every year, because D23 shit's gonna get dropped, and then you watch D23 this year, not watch it, but try to engage with it. And I even feel bad for the people that paid all the money to go, because D23 had next to nothing. And I think all of us are wondering, where is the Fantastic Four cast announcement? Where is Deadpool 3? And Ryan Reynolds geniusly, after D23, puts out this video where he's talking about Deadpool 3 coming, and he was sorry he missed D23, and then at the end it was brilliant. Hey Hugh,
hey you,
Wolverine again.
Sure, Ryan.
Broke the internet.
Sure, Ryan.
Even more brilliantly, this is why this guy is one of my favorite celebrities. It's amazing. Even more brilliantly, because a lot of the people online, I was kind of looking at the engagement in the community and shit, and like a lot of the community was like, yo, I think Ryan Reynolds is fooling, this is just going to be a cameo. And he puts out a video the next day with him and Hugh, that same house, same couch, talking about Deadpool 3.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant. Like, he had this all kind of planned out, mapped out perfectly. I think the guy is just amazing. And like, I haven't watched do you know anything about his like documentary and all that? And,
Not really.
Like, the Docker team. Yeah, I've heard a little bit about it, which sounds really interesting. It's him, and it's Rob McElhenney from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which is one of my favorite shows. He's Mac and Always Sunny, and him and Mac from Always Sunny, Rob McElhenney, they bought I'm probably mispronouncing the last name, but they bought they call it a football team. It's a soccer team together that's based out of Wrexham, which is, I actually don't know where exactly Wrexham is. Maybe somebody can help me out. I think it's in Germany, but I don't know.
I don't even know how to spell that.
But yeah, it's WREXHAM or something like that. But they put out this doc called Welcome to Wrexham. Apparently everybody's like, I didn't even like care about soccer before, but now I do. Like, that's been the reception. I need to watch this thing. I guess it's on like Hulu or something. But anyway, it's whatever Ryan Reynolds does. I mean, we need to get more like that guy, you and I, because he just knows how to market himself. I think that's what's brilliant. Like, he could have the shittiest movie coming out ever, but you'd watch it because he marketed it well. You know, it's just, he knows what he's doing. And oh gosh, did you watch? Speaking of which, Free Guy last year? Or was that last year?
I did see Free Guy.
That was a great movie.
That was so random. It was so random, but I loved it.
It was the hit that came out of nowhere, I felt like, and just brilliant movie. And I figured you'd be into that because it's got a lot of like real streamers on that thing. Like, there was a lot of like real Twitch streamers they incorporated into that film. Like, I thought that was insane, man. That was a really good movie.
Yeah, I was just like, I was so kind of like confused by it, but I'm sitting here going like, or Free Guy. I said new guy in chat. Free guy. I said new guy. But yeah, it was like, it was so random, but I was like sitting there going, I loved it. Like, I'm sitting there going like, what is happening? Fantastic. And I'm all for it.
Yeah. And the end, I mean, the way it just all kind of came together, it was just, I just thought it was a brilliant movie. I was like, this is perfect for people who are currently in the streaming world, and they understand that. But then it would also bring people who aren't gamers into that kind of world too. Like, it was perfect, man. It was perfect for that. Like, I think everything that movie set out to do, it did very, very well. What about the Stranger Things? You watched that at all? Or
yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was.
Oh god,
that's a good season of television. Yeah.
I think that was the longest. What was it like? How long did they split part 1 and part 2 up? Like 3 weeks or something? A month and a half?
Yeah, it was a wait, man. I mean, it was like about a month wait before they did. Yeah,
oh, it was rough. I'm like,
and then you're like,
oh, wait, you cut out there.
Well, you got part 2, and it's like, oh, sorry about that. You got part 2, and it's like 2 episodes, right? And it's like, yeah, that's kind of a bummer. But then it was like one of those episodes happens to be 2.5 hours long.
That was so freaking long. Yeah. I think,
but it was good.
I think for the last episode, that 2.5 hour long one, I actually had COVID during the time, and I remember we're like laying in bed. I'm sitting there going like I'm just so out of it. We can watch Stranger Things. Like, I woke right up. I'm like, I forgot it's released. Like, I had actually gotten COVID like when it released. And I think we watched. But I was just getting COVID, so I was like still kind of there. We watched the first episode, and then like a day later, like I was just down for the count. So like a day
Yeah.
after that, or maybe a day or two after that, I was like, oh my god, we haven't watched the second episode yet. And then like we played it, and I'm sitting there going like, oh my lord, it is 2.5 hours long. Oh boy. But it was still so good, and now of course I can't wait for
It
Stranger Things
flew.
5. Yeah. Oh
It
yeah.
flew that 2.5 hours. Like
Yep.
you didn't even notice it. It was actually that good. And I actually said I think it's the best episode of television I've ever seen. Like
Mm-hmm.
that last episode. It's not my favorite show of all time, but that last episode, in terms of the ambition and everything it did,
Mm-hmm.
it was just honestly the best episode of television I've ever
Oh yeah.
seen. It knew exactly what the audience was. It knew what it had to do to complete that story, bring it full circle, and it did it, man. It was it
Mm-hmm.
was it was perfect. I'll tell you. I was gonna ask is, do you know if Sam's watching the new Star Wars, the Andor, at all?
I don't think so.
If she's not, tell her to watch this. She will love this because it's Game of Thrones and Star Wars. Like it's a Game of
Really?
Thrones styled show for Star Wars. Like she'll love it. It's got that, the politics, and it's got all
Yeah.
that. Like, but it's done in Star Wars. This is the show, man. Like this is about to be huge
Yeah.
when this thing. I mean, it's out, but it's like only its fourth episode, still in its infancy. There's 12 episodes in this season, and once this thing goes, man, I mean, it's going to be. I mean, this is amazing. The
Yeah.
show, and what I love about it, I was talking to Jose on the podcast about this, and we were saying like, this is, if you hadn't seen Star Wars before, you could start with this show and understand so much about Star Wars. They're really respecting the audience in that way, to where it's like they're almost, it's not starting from scratch. I mean, the world is established and everything, but
Right.
you're starting with a character that really is just, he's been in other things. I mean, he was in Rogue One, but we're seeing his origins, and because we're kind of seeing everything, it's all done through character, which makes it so obtainable for new audiences. Like if you have never seen a piece of Star Wars before, this show would be the place to start, because it honestly is really approaching it in such a way where everything just makes so much sense, and it's wonderful. And I like that it's heading in a direction where like all, I mean, it's going to connect all Star Wars together in a big way. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
pretty cool, man. I mean, I would recommend it for. Definitely tell Sam about it. But anybody who is a Star Wars fan already and just hasn't really been into Star Wars yet, that's a show. That's an entry point. It's good. I mean, every episode just feels amazing. Every time an episode ends, I can't wait for the next one. I mean, it's one of those shows, man, that you're just like, you're begging for the next episode to come.
Yeah.
And so intriguing. And I like that everything about it's so relatable, and you can just watch it and feel like, I don't know, like everything feels like something, it relates to something that happens in our real world, but
Oh,
just
okay.
in the Star Wars galaxy. Like it just feels so grounded, and I like that. I've been saying for a long time we need more street level Star Wars,
Right.
in that way, where it's a little bit less sci-fi, still expansive, but it's cutting down the sci-fi element. It's not so inside baseball, so to speak. Like there's
Okay.
the Mandalorian's very inside baseball, as to where I would say it's like, it's got a lot of deep lore in there, where if you watch the Mandalorian, there's going to be a lot of people who haven't seen Star Wars or don't understand it that deep. So this is going to go over their head.
Mm-hmm.
Andor is a show for like everybody, that's why I've been recommending it to everybody. It's awesome. But yeah, so Stranger Things you've seen, and then that's good. I did, like I said, I thought that was the best episode of television, that finale
Yeah.
ever. And yeah, man, I've been having a good time with it's hard right now. I think that this right now, there's so much on TV right
Yeah.
now, and just so much to watch. Like it's outstanding in one
Yeah.
way, because in one way I never thought we'd be in this world where in one week I get Marvel, Game of Thrones, Star Wars, and I get to
Right.
watch all these things in 1 week. Like streaming is insane, like the way streaming is going right now, and there's so much to watch. So it's like, when you say you don't have the time, like I believe it. It's like
Mm-hmm. Oh
there's
yeah.
so much to watch. Like it's hard to like even keep up with anything. Like everybody will notice I was a week late on my House of the Dragon episode thoughts this week, and I was a week late on my She-Hulk episode thoughts this week. Like it's so much to consume and watch. It's getting kind of out of hand. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, because that kind of brings me to this, I guess, because you think about like the digital space and stuff, and just like, do you think that, because you are a musician, do you think the digital age is more beneficial to artists in the music space?
Yeah. So the one thing I
As
did.
opposed to when you buy an album and listen to it front to back, you know what I mean?
Right, right,
Like
yeah.
that kind of thing.
I think
Now it's like
now,
you skip, but go on.
yeah, yeah, like for sure, yeah, because like way back, well, I want to say way back when, but like,
Back in my day.
yeah, yeah, back in my day,
Yeah.
um,
Back when I was a little boy.
kind of thing.
I have those on my mixer and I just can't activate them. Right? But go ahead. Those are awesome.
But yeah, it was like it was when you bought a CD, it was like, yeah, you would you'd listen to like the whole thing, front to back. I remember I would always open up the covers like in the CDs. Always open up to see if they had the lyrics, kind of thing, because this was like before like you readily had access to the internet, kind of thing. And like I always want to say just to hear what they were saying and how they would sing it. That's like I was always interested in music, like how are they getting things to rhyme so well, and just like picking it apart. So I remember heavily listening to like System of a Down and Serj Tankian and everything. And that was like my favorite.
Yeah.
And, like Rob Zombie was like definitely up there as well. Like I love that, like that kind of stuff, until I got into like the
Speaking of Rob Zombie, if I might manage,
yeah.
guys, we do have a subscribe counter at the bottom right, I think, and then if you
Yeah.
guys get us up to 400 subscribers, once we get to 400, I'm going to be releasing the Rob Zombie Monsters review. I did watch the movie, and I can't wait to talk about it. I know that there's been a lot of curiosity surrounding that one, and I will give my thoughts on the monsters as soon as we reach 400 subscribers. So anything you guys could do to help and subscribe, that'd be great. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, no, like that was like perfect timing for that. Okay. Yeah, it was like perfect timing. But yeah, so I remember I remember looking looking inside the CDs and everything, but it was you never back then you never bought a CD for a single. You never bought a CD that just had one song on it.
True.
Like it would always be an album. So I think nowadays people can just crank out music so fast because they don't have to wait to make an entire album. It's a single or an EP kind of thing. And yeah, like I know there's one song I've been waiting for it to drop forever. It's a remix of a song by Excision. It's a Burn Ezekiel remix. So I've been listening to this guy Burn Ezekiel a lot because of his stuff is just so gnarly. I mean, it is just that stuff gives me pumped. So, and he remixed this stuff, and I know Lost Lands just went on not too long. I think it just went on this past weekend, and he was supposed to drop it there. Whether he did or didn't, I'm not sure. I'm sure he had to have, because it was like it blew up on TikTok, which is I'm gonna talk about that here in a sec. But yeah, I think nowadays it really it makes things easier for us. The fact that we can just release a single. Now I know like you could buy songs, obviously like iTunes and whatnot back then too. I think iTunes was a thing. I think I'm pretty sure, like where you could just buy one song or something like that. Like,
oh yeah.
Like, but that it wasn't really as popular. It wasn't really readily available. Kind of thing. Like not everybody had an iPod Classic. It was flip phones and Walkmans. So it's like you basically had to buy a CD. You had to buy the whole album. So if there was a song you wanted, you can buy a cheap MP3 player kind of thing, which is what I did. Or I put like my top 5 favorite songs on my flip phone because that's all the memory that it had. So I had to like rotate it out kind of thing every so often. But yeah, like nowadays, of course, like with Spotify and all the streaming services when it comes to music, like yeah, it's so much easier for us, and I think it also helps the artists so much more as well because they get paid per stream, which this was kind of funny. My nose itches so freaking much all of a sudden. Sorry, squirrel. But it was like with both, well, I should say all 3 of my albums released since 2017. I have made a whopping like $330.
That's awesome.
From like 5 years ago. Yeah, 5 years ago. And which is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
And that's for like, I can't remember. I want to say a little bit over maybe 5,000 streams. Now that is also including people actually buying the albums on iTunes or wherever I distribute it from, because I distribute it across the freaking world. I distribute it to places that I can't even listen to it on, which is kind of funny. But I still get paid for them. So, but what's kind of crazy with that is, we'll take Spotify for instance when it comes to it, and I'm not like adding Spotify by any means, but like one stream will pay me, I think it's 0.002 cents per stream. 0.002 cents. So like to make $1, you need like what, an absurd amount of streams. If I can do like the math here real quick, like $1, I would need 500 streams to make $1. So it's like it's kind of crazy. So when you see these things on Spotify that have like so many, now that's just Spotify. Now you got like Apple Music and YouTube and all these different streaming services. Obviously that adds up very quickly. But I just think it's so much easier for the artist to make money as well, which is why when it comes to DJing too, I always buy my music. I don't stream. Well, I shouldn't say that. I don't stream when I'm actually have a playlist that I'm making, like for instance for the Boomboxx Bangers on October 28th, like all my playlist, like I'm still building it. I buy all the music. Now, if I'm doing a wedding, like for instance this past weekend when I did a wedding, and there was a song that I did not have, I just plug in my phone to my mixer via aux cable, and I'll just stream it from Spotify. I'm like, hey, I don't have that song, but I can still play it. So I'm still trying to give to the artist as much as I can. I never, unless there is a song that I just cannot find, a knockoff song from some crazy mashup thing or whatever, some little snippet, only at that point would I try to find it like on YouTube or something like that and download it kind of thing. But for what it's worth, like I always buy my music because I'm like, I've been there. Still am a music producer, so I definitely want to give credit where it's due and buy the music outright. Now it's like, obviously I'll still stream it like left and right too, because if I bought it, I'm still going to want to listen to it. But mainly when I buy it, I only do it for DJing and whatnot. So, but yeah, nowadays I think it is much easier for the artists to actually get out there more when it comes to like their music. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great for the artists, and I'm in actual complete agreement with you on that. In some ways, there's some ways that it's not. Like, I think that there are definitely artists, and Jose's gonna roll his fucking eyes if he's watching. I've been listening to the band Haim nonstop lately. I've been on a kick, and to me, their albums play as art pieces. You know, like you have to listen to the whole albums to get the full vision of what they're trying to lay down. And I think that there's a lot of people, I think attention spans have shortened, and there's a lot of people that are just going to skip through songs just based on the first 5 seconds and how it hits them. And I'm like, no, there are certain artists where their albums really mean being an art piece. But then there's artists that don't do that, that just put out singles now. And they've really adapted to this single release. And that's great too, if you can really learn to adapt to that. And hopefully that gets you enough attention to be able to get somebody to listen to the whole album, because their singles were all fire. And the other great thing about singles is you can spend more time on them, right? Like if you have this I'm going to release singles only mentality, you're putting more time into individual songs versus making a whole album. So that way you get 10 singles, there's an album right there you go, and they're all fire, right? Like you could do that. But so I do think it's beneficial for the artists as long as they can learn to adapt. I think that that's kind of more or less the way we're heading. But on the other hand, I think don't get me wrong, record labels need to be there. They'll always have their place. I just think we're going to see them shrink, because if you want to make real money as an artist right now, the way to go is more independent. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are record deals that you could sign that'll make you more money than you could ever dream of. But I think everybody, to some degree or another, really needs to start out independently releasing music, because that's really what's going to get you the big bucks. And if it's sometimes it's just more viable to stay more independent. It's more than the labels can actually offer you. Because back when CDs were around, the only way artists were able to make money were off the live shows. You know, it's true. So I mean, the labels got the CD money, but it sounded like you had a thought there. I mean, I'll let you.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like, because I've actually been asked many times if from multiple streamers, if like, hey, can I play your music on stream? Am I going to get copyright strike from it? I'm like, no. I'm like, they're like, is your label going to come out? I'm like, I am my label. Like, no, kind of thing. And that's the thing. It's like, I don't have to worry about paying a label or paying my royalties or whatever you want to call them to the label, like I get all like of the money. Well, not all. I get my cut, all of my cut. So it's like I think I get 70% of revenue. So for an album that's $10, I get $7 from it, which is really
the rest
good.
Of that goes to distribution.
Yeah,
right?
it goes to like the distribution centers.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So it's great, you know. It's like I don't have to worry about paying a label, and that's why I think it's also nice too. Is like if you get those indie artists that you know that play that stuff, you know, I'm sure that the label pays them stuff too. You know, they probably have. I'm sure they have like some contract deal and whatnot. Like we'll just say like Monster Cat, for instance. You know, that's like a whole label in itself. There's so many artists that are behind Monster Cat, which I love Monster Cat, but I'm sitting there going like, I would never join it just because I like being told. I like not being told what to do or when I have to put an album out or anything like that, or being under pressure. Like, hey, you're under our label. You haven't put an album out in like 3 years. Like, what the hell's going on kind of thing. You know, it's like, I like just not being able to do and not have to worry about it. Like I can release music whenever I want to.
Yeah, no, and that's the freedom part of it is what's so beneficial. I think it is that freedom of not having anybody tell you what to do. You know, that's super beneficial. But again, it does cause a negative impact for the labels. And I think the unfortunate thing about the only reason I don't want labels to go away is because I'm still a little bit more traditional. So if there's an album that I just love, I do want the physical copy. And to me, a great artist will put that on their website anyway, but because they do realize that it is something that somebody might want to just own and have in their collection. But I also kind of understand, like, we are in that digital age. That's what scares me so much about streaming is I'm a collector. I love physical media, man. I love Blu-rays and CDs and whatever, man. And like we are gonna get less and less of that the more we have these streaming exclusives. You know, Marvel has put out like I think they're getting going on like 8 different TV shows now, and I can't own any of them physically to put in my collection, you know, on my shelf with the rest of my Marvel collection. You know, I'm a big Marvel guy. It's like, what the hell, man? You know, so there's something about that to me that feels incomplete, and maybe it's a physical media's physical media collector's nightmare, and maybe I'm just, you know, waxing poetic about that and nobody cares, and that's fine. But it's just we're just adding into this age where it fascinates me, but it scares me at the same time. I guess that's kind of where I'm at, man. I'm still such a traditionalist that it does scare me a little bit at the same time. So I don't know, man. That's where I'm at. I feel like you need to, but I love it for the artists. I'm not trying to take that away, man. I love that because, you know, I've done music too, man. I've got the bug again, man. I'm trying to make some stuff happen too, and like I love the fact that once I do have something to put out there, I can, you know, and that's the coolest thing about this digital age, man. And even for movies, man, there's a lot of filmmakers, man, that can make their own movies. You know what I mean? Like I listened to Bruce Campbell talking at Comic-Con about Evil Dead, saying like we made that movie for like $3,000, you know, at the time, but now a kid could make it for 300, you know, and that's like the insane thing about like having all these tools at your disposal to just play around with too. And it's fun, man. I love it, but at the same time, there's a level of it that scares me, man, because everything's being you know what scares me about it is you look at like your Disney Pluses, your HBO Maxes, and all this type of stuff on streaming, right? Corporations are getting a hold of of these ideas, of this digital age idea, and they're starting to take ownership. And then, you know, what happens to the movie theaters once they figure out everything can go to streaming and we can have success? And to me, as a traditionalist, I still think there's no better way to watch a movie than the movie theater, right? You know what I mean? And so like I have that bone in my body where I just feel that and fear that. On the same hand too, though, you talk about Spotify. Well, what happens when labels start figuring out they can take advantage of that themselves too? Like, yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a record label off the top of my head. Just like a big one that I can't think of right now. This is an old record label. I don't even know if they're around anymore. Rise Records figures out that, you know, streaming can be used to our advantage. Well, we're going to make our own streaming service, and all the Rise Records artists are going to be on this service. You won't find them on Spotify anymore. And then there goes our wallets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
whatever the case, and that scares me too. I don't know, do you ever think about that? Do you think eventually like the Spotify's will fade out and the record labels will have to make their own streaming services, or is that something you just haven't thought about before?
I haven't really thought about it, but my initial thought right now is I think that, I mean, as big as like record labels are, like I'm sure they've got millions easily, but I'm sure that Spotify probably has a little bit more.
You think so? I bet they do too.
Like,
I hope so.
they're a big company, so I feel that, you know, is Tidal still a thing? TIDA, that kind of thing, you know, like I think Spotify's pretty.
By the way, but damn,
yeah, you're right. I know
that was a bad idea.
I'm sitting going like, I just, you know, he's up there. Yeah, West is way up there, and he tried to make his own streaming service, and Spotify's like, hold my beer, kind of thing. So I don't know. I feel like nobody can really top it because it was.
That's fair.
It's, you know, it's like Netflix, you know. On the other hand, Netflix was the first kind of streaming service, you know, back when they actually sent you the DVDs, and whatnot. Yeah, that's for the younger generation. Yeah, we actually got sent the DVDs. That's yeah, crazy, we right? know. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you had to wait to get the other one. You couldn't pause it, kind of thing, when it first came out on the streaming. Like, you got to watch it. So, you know, it's like when Netflix came out, but see, like on that though, you know, Netflix started it. But I feel like other services are doing it better.
Yeah, I agree.
So like Peacock, and you know, like I love having Peacock because I love watching the WWE events. I love watching that. I don't really follow it that much, but the fact that it's free because of Xfinity and whatnot,
right? I
love that. But you know, it's like I really only watched Netflix for Stranger Things, number one, and The Office is what I watched it for. And then like if there's like a random movie or something like that, I'm like, oh sweet, oh yeah, it's on Netflix, cool. Now I feel like they're kind of like they're slowly going down, and I'm watching more and more Peacock. I'm watching more and more Disney Plus.
Right.
I'm watching more and more whatever else we have, Hulu Prime and everything like that. Find myself watching more and more of that, less and less of Netflix. So now, like I said, again, on the other hand, like, okay, Spotify, how much music do you have, and how much are you going to get until is there going to be another streaming service that comes up and pulls a Netflix on you kind of thing?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point, man. I mean, that's exactly kind of I think where I was heading, and I think one of the biggest differences with Netflix, though, that I would give I would give Spotify over Netflix is Netflix operated when they started in a major deficit just from the jump, so they were already kind of fucked from the beginning in a way when they didn't think about the fact that I think other people would be coming up to do this as much as they probably should have. There was actually we were talking about on the podcast this story I think not that long ago where Netflix was in real trouble because they had honestly, so if they had lost 2 million subscribers by their last stocks meeting or shareholders meeting, they're pretty much fucked, man. Netflix would have been gone, but luckily they only lost about 1 million. I know that still sounds bad, but it wasn't 2 million, so they're able to recover, and I think they're doing an okay job. I mean, now they just bought the Munsters, so who knows? But they did. I mean, they got the Cobra Kai, the Stranger Things, even though they lost a lot of stuff, they need to regain. But then they did Sandman, which a lot of people liked. But that's kind of like part of Netflix's biggest issue is they started in this major deficit. Mm-hmm. But then you hear about Spotify paying Joe Rogan $2 billion or whatever that is for his podcast. Like, how are they going to sustain after paying out that?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just interesting. But you're right, man. I mean, these streaming services, they've gotten better, and the fact is like the benefit that the services have, and this is why I say about the labels over Netflix, though, is Peacock doesn't have to pay an extra licensing fee to put The Office on Peacock. They own it. Mm-hmm. It's their property.
Yeah.
Disney doesn't have to pay an extra licensing fee to put the Star Wars movies on their service. They own it. Mm-hmm. Netflix, everything they put out, it's a licensing fee.
Yep.
And so it's just insane to me how they're still operable at all. Mm-hmm. But at the same hand, they're making it, man. I mean, they do have content that people love. It's not as much as it used to be, but they still have it. And so I guess it works in that way. But I wish that I do think Joe Rogan's going to keep Spotify alive for a good long while, despite all the controversy. Like, I think Spotify's really, they got a good thing going, or they could have a great thing going, where they start to move into the podcasting a little bit more, where they start to acquire podcasters, because that'll get people on the service for sure. I mean, I guarantee they have. I don't know the percentage, but I bet it's high, the amount that are there just to listen to Joe Rogan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I bet that's high as hell. And if they have exclusives like that, yeah, you can keep up pretty well.
My buddy actually had this idea that how Spotify could actually take off even more, and I thought it was genius, actually. And I would definitely be a subscriber to it as well. Have live feeds, like, so we'll take Lost Lands that just happened this past weekend, which I wish I was there. Which I know there was a lot of live streams from it, like from like YouTube, and I'm sure you could just watch it live and everything, which is awesome. Yeah. I think if Spotify could start doing that kind of stuff for all different types of concerts, like actually have like different cameras, like stage cameras and everything, and you could subscribe to that or buy a virtual ticket for a heavily discounted price. Like, hey, this is $10 to watch this concert. Or buy a season pass where you get all these access to all these concerts and whatnot, and you can watch them live without having to go in. But then, how does that affect the venues? Kind of thing. Like, I think that would be. It's a seesaw. It's one of those things. Like, it could really benefit Spotify, but it's like a streaming service.
But I think that's brilliant. You would just have to do it in moderation. I think part of the problem with that theory, and I think it's a great idea, because I remember the days when you used to buy live DVDs, and I miss those days a little bit. Bring Me the Horizon put out a live DVD with their CD. It's like, oh, I'm going to Hot Topic right now. I miss those days quite a bit. But you look at, the fact that we're kind of missing that in the world. I think a streaming service for live concerts, I think that would be brilliant, and Spotify can really capitalize on that. But you got to do it in moderation. Like, I know when I listen to like stand-up comedians talk, and it might be different for musical artists, I don't know, but I know when I listen to stand-up comedians talk, a lot of the times now, a lot of stand-ups are banning cell phones even at their shows, because they're using the smaller sort of clubs to kind of use as practice to get their set together, so they can build an hour special out of it, so they can put it up on Netflix, HBO. But that's live comedy, and they found a way to distribute that better,
right? Because
Netflix is putting out comedy specials. You can probably find a new one every day anymore,
right?
And like, it's crazy. But with Spotify doing that for music would be great. I just don't know how much musical artists use their kind of venues to put sets together. So you would have to really figure out the type of venue that you're going to be recording that at and stuff. But like, actually to make something like that out of, that's fantastic though. I mean, it's a great idea. Whoever told you that is a genius, because I've been wondering where in the hell is that streaming service for live shows, because honestly, you're right, it would hurt the venues. But shit, look at what just happened in Indiana, that Wiz Khalifa scare. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like, people would feel more safe, it wouldn't have to be that much cheaper than actually going.
Right.
Not that much. I bet you could still benefit the venues quite a bit, but then again,
I'm sure they could get a cut from it.
Yeah, and that's why I say in moderation. You don't do that for every show that they have on the tour, but you pick one venue, you have the artists, set it up prior, extra rehearsal time, because this one's going to be the one that we're recording, and it's going to be, you know what I mean? So make sure that you're rehearsed, and for this one, and they put in extra prep time. I think it's a great idea. I think it's a fantastic idea.
Like, I'd be all over that. Like, I know, of course, DEF CON, like the one like in Australia that I went to in 2016, they do it every year on YouTube, and actually on Facebook too. Like, they stream it for free, so it's cool. But being at that concert, I mean, granted, it's at least the one in Australia is a multi-stage, 7-stage concert, so you can walk around and whatnot. So, and I mean, just being there is totally different than like watching it like on a screen. I mean, you can sit here, like Lost Lands. Again, I'm only using that just because it just happened here just this past weekend, but they had a live streaming as well. You can actually watch it, and there was tons of videos of people like they were they called it Couch Lands. It was a bunch of videos of people like sitting on their couch being like doing this, just chilling on their couch, like they're vibing kind of thing. And it's like, so they do that, and it's like, and they're doing that for free, which is awesome, but still it doesn't at the same time, it doesn't even match the energy of actually going to it and experiencing it.
Yeah, I would just say the only con, again, it's for the integrity of the artists knowing they're being recorded. I think that's the only con. That's why it's like if somebody goes out on tour, you have to pick one date that's going to go on Spotify. You know what I mean? It can't be every single time you go. It's got to be the one, so they're extra prepped. They know that they're gonna, I hope every artist does their best every night, but you and I know that's just not true.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have mess ups, yeah.
Exactly. So you want the one to be as perfect as you can get it, but I also think that's going to cause a lot more people to talk a lot more shit about certain artists when they hear how it sounds through the audio technician and all that. But the funny thing is, like it's just like you said, it's not going to be the same anyway. So, but it would be good promotion too to promote ticket sales.
Oh yeah.
So you can go see that in person. That's the other thing. I don't understand why they don't do that more often. I'll tell you, during the pandemic, you might have heard about this. I remember here in Indiana, they did a Garth Brooks concert at the drive-in movie theater.
Yeah.
And charged $100 a pop.
Ooh, I did not know that, but I remember them doing it. Holy crap.
Bro, it's sold out.
Oh, I bet. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because people are probably begging to get out of their house. Yeah.
My God, I couldn't believe it sold out as quick as it did. I was like, for Garth Brooks, I know Garth Brooks is awesome.
Right, yeah.
Don't get me wrong. As far as country music, Garth Brooks is the man, but you're pulling up in your car, you're watching it on a big screen. I get that, but $100 a pop, man, I don't know if I'd ever pay that for that. But
when you were talking about, making sure they're extra prepped and whatnot, I believe it was Ray Volp, who is a dubstep artist. I'm pretty sure it was him. I saw a TikTok video which his flight got delayed by like some crazy 4, 6, 8 hours or something like that, and he got to the stage ready for his set and had 4 minutes to prepare.
No shit.
And he got up there, and not only that, but it was like his microphone stopped working, so he had to use his headset, which there's these headsets, I forget what they're called, but there's basically these headsets where you can actually turn the speakers into a microphone and you just straight talk into it like this kind of thing. So he's talking, he's like, my mic's freaking broken, and he's like, I have been delayed 3 times. I have 4 minutes to prepare. I'm just gonna wing this, and he just like threw like the best like everybody's like, we don't care. It's freaking Ray Volp. Let's headbang to this shit. Like they were still stoked, but yeah, when you're talking about preparing, you can't prepare for a delayed flight like that. It's like you just can't. So it's like the fact that he did everything with 4 minutes to spare, and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's just that there'd be a lot of extra precautions you'd have to take for damn sure. I think I was watching a clip though, funny enough, it was similar to yours. I can't remember who it was, but it was an artist I think I liked at least. But it was a clip that popped up on my YouTube feed, and I remember it was some female singer, but the mic had cut out in the middle of her singing the song, and but also what happened is her vocals stopped, and I was like, well, at least she's not auto-tuned.
Right, yeah, at least
technical difficulties could be beneficial to people.
That's true, yeah.
It's like at least the singing stopped at the exact moment. She's not auto-tuned.
Yeah, she's not lip syncing, yeah.
Right.
Or auto-tuned, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's always beneficial too if those technical difficulties happen. So that's But dude, streaming service for concerts. That's the one thing I always thought about. Or just I think more artists do need to release their live stuff in general. Like even if the Spotify idea doesn't take off, like I don't know why more artists. Like sure, I could go up on YouTube and pull up any artist and find clips. But there is something about watching the full live show in like a professional way, like when people used to put out live DVDs like that and stuff, and especially with the type of broadcasting software we have at our disposal. I don't know why more people don't take advantage of that now and make more live streams and things for their concerts. It's kind of insane to me that it hasn't really blown up the way I think it should have, because there is so much more broadcasting. There's so many more broadcasting tools at our disposal. You're using one right now. And it's like, that's the thing. It's like anybody can do it now with the right gear and the right amount of prep. And it's just, it's crazy, man. And by the way, for any listeners looking to get into podcasting, or streaming, download OBS, man. It's a great tool. And honestly, like at first, when I first pulled up OBS, it was the most confusing thing ever. But you learn it, man. You learn it like anything else, and you can do a lot with these tools. It's a free tool.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Open
insane.
source is nice. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Wirecast is still thinking they can charge $1,000 for their broadcasting service, but you got this free thing that does almost everything that does, and it's just insane to me that broadcasting for concerts haven't taken off more, and just like even like why, like I love stand-up, so like stand-up comedians, I understand doing it on Netflix. You get more money probably for the special itself and things like that. But man, with the broadcasting tools that we have, like I don't understand why they don't just put it out independently, most of them anymore, because there are so many people that can run the same equipment and get close at least to that same quality. But then again, I kind of understand. Going back to Andor really quick, what's really funny is so like they did before the Star Wars put out Andor, they had Mandalorian, Boba Fett, Obi-Wan, they were all kind of testing those out as live action shows. And I think Mandalorian's a great show, by the way. So don't let anybody get me wrong. I think the storytelling is phenomenal, and it's a great show for Star Wars fans. But then they have Boba Fett and Obi-Wan, and what they do is they use these, which I find really fascinating, Industrial Light and Magic. They're using these volume stages, and a lot of things are being done like this right now. And basically what the volume stages do is like it basically, you're inside of a regular sound stage, but you're just surrounded by these screens that have your environment around that, and they're filming it that way, and the screens are rendering everything in real time. And that's how they've been shooting Mandalorian, Boba Fett, and they shot Obi-Wan that way. And by the time I got through Obi-Wan, I was like, I am so fucking tired of the volume stages, man. They just don't look the same as like when you're shooting on actual locations. And Andor comes out and they did almost everything on location, and it's like, oh, thank God. Mm-hmm. So I guess that's kind of the difference between having somebody who can use a broadcasting system than getting a whole bunch of money for your stand-up special, concert, DVD, whatever. Mm-hmm. You kind of get that little bit of difference for sure, because I'll tell you, watching Andor has been a breath of fresh air. A lot of it's for the reason they're doing it on fucking location, like the original Star Wars was done. So that's a breath of fresh air. But it's insane to me that's kind of, it's, I don't know, the technology is getting insane, man. I'm stunned by it every day. We're living in the future, man. It's outstanding, the things we can do now.
I like how people like when they say like oh, I can't wait for the future of this, future of that. I'm like, bro, the future's here. like we're creating it.
Yeah, like it's crazy. I mean, even think about your Twitch, man. I mean, like I remember, when I was a kid, you flip on CNN or Fox, whatever you watch, or whatever news was on. And it's like, I'll never be able to set up something like that or be able to do something like that where, it's broadcasted in that manner. But like, look at us now, man. Like we have tech beyond belief these days. And it's like, I mean, you think about your Twitch stream alone, even like think about what you could do. You never thought when you were a kid, you'd do something like that. You know what I mean? Probably. Or,
oh yeah,
be able to do it all on your own, or even what we're doing here. It's just, you never thought as a kid you'd be able to do all that on your own. It's fascinating, dude. It's fascinating. I was
like like when you see, or like, I've always heard about like streaming stuff and esports and everything, which I've never ever really wanted to be an esports kind of person, but it's like I never saw myself getting into Twitch, like ever. Like I just never, let alone getting into Twitch and streaming at least once a week a freaking virtual farming game that I love so freaking much. I never ever saw myself doing that, playing farming sim for few people, and I'm like, it's fun as hell. Like, and I met so many awesome people through it too.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. Do you think couch co-op needs to come back though a little bit? I mean, I feel like, well, actually, because you game more than I do, why do you think there's been less of a push for couch co-op and more so the multiplayer?
Like when it came to like older style, before online games became a real thing, like that was the way to play with people. And now that like the internet's grown to like where it is, and doing online games, like I remember I was actually given the ability to play online. The first game I ever played online with people was Call of Duty.
I was gonna say it was a Call of Duty.
Call of Duty World at War on the PlayStation 2.
That was the shit.
And I had the normal, like maybe like second gen PlayStation, like the bigger one, and it didn't have the slim one had the network adapter in it. but the big one didn't. So I couldn't play online. Well, my buddy gave me his network adapter so I could play online because he just didn't play. He's like, dude, he's like, you got to get online and stuff. You got to do it, got to do it. So like he gave me his old one. And that was the first time I ever played. I was like, this is so much fun. Holy crap, I'm playing with people around the world. I'm getting like shit on kind of thing. But I was having a blast with it. But it was also, you know, where it was just, I think it's just gone to the ease of access now with the internet. There's no more couch co-op. But
yeah,
a game that brought that back that was so much fun, and I didn't realize there's quite a few games like this, was that It Takes Two. Because Sam and I played
game of the year, didn't it?
Oh my
God,
yeah, that thing was so much fun, and because Sam and I played that, we actually streamed it. We streamed the entire game over like 3 or 4 weeks or something like that. Like we played on the weekends, and like it was a blast because it was split screen. You know, she was sitting next to me, and I had like the video camera or the webcam up top, and like we were talking with chat, and like that was fun. But it was like it was also one of those things where, okay, we beat the game. Now what? You know, it was just like it's like it ends very, very quickly. So, you know, it was so nice to be able to like. I don't want to say this in a bad way. It was so nice to spend time with her.
I know,
but,
I get that.
But like, yeah, it's, you know, nowadays it's virtual couch co-op. It's hanging out on Discord and playing Call of Duty or Farming Sim or something like that. You know, it's kind of crazy how it's gone to that.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I think that the virtual co-op is very cool because I do have friends that don't live near me, and then that's great to be able to play with them at any point in time. That's awesome, man. That's a real cool benefit again. But it also maybe it goes back to me being a traditionalist once again. I do miss being with somebody playing on a couch and being able to do something. It's like you think about like games that have these great campaigns to them. Imagine doing those campaigns with somebody else like right next to you.
Right.
You guys are grinding to get through this storyline essentially, you know, and I'm not saying it's completely gone, but boy, there hasn't been a push for it lately.
Yeah.
By the way, like one of those games, like just like It Takes Two, like it reminded me so much of Jedi Fallen Order. Shout out Jedi Survivors coming out here pretty soon. I'm so fucking stoked. But because Jedi Fallen Order was great, but it is one of those games too. That's another problem with video games right now. You get through that story, now what? Remember Mario? You could play for hours even after you beat it. And I'm not saying there's not games like that. There is, but like it's so few and far between anymore. You beat that story, and it's like there's no more to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, you really don't like, you know, we beat the game, and then honestly, I haven't touched it since. You know, it's like I've, you know, there's those games where like we beat it, I beat the story, like we beat it together. Of course, you need another player. Now you can also play with somebody like, you know, across the world kind of thing too. But It was nice to play like together here and work together, like not have any obviously lag with like voice chat or anything, but you could point to a screen, like point like, hey, go over here kind of thing. It was really nice to do that, but yeah, like once we beat the game, it was just like, okay, that was cool, that was fun. Like it was a really good time. Like that was awesome, cool. Okay, well, what do you want for dinner? Like it just ended really quick, you know?
Yeah. Once you're done, man. It was like it kind of sucked. Like Miles Morales was another one of those experiences where that Miles Morales game came out, the Spider-Man one for PS5. I played it and I loved it. I thought it was one of the best games ever, but it's done, and you know I beat it in 2 days. It's done, you know. I mean, it's not that I won't ever go back and revisit that story again. It was a great story. So just like a movie, I'll go back and revisit it again. But you know, the difference is it's just like unlike a movie, you know, I mean a movie I can, you know, there's always the next movie, and sure there's always the next game, but it's again it's a few and far between situation where it's like who really wants to have, and maybe some people are like this, a major collection of video games. But I'm saying like and that's fine if that's your thing, more power to you. For me, I mean, and again it goes into being a traditionalist. I like to have just a few set of games I switch between at a time. Like I don't like to have like a ton at my disposal, but then again I do get very bored, so maybe I should take on more video games. Who knows? You know, so I don't know, man. That's possible. That's possible for sure. They're okay. What do you think of the man? What do you think of that? I probably haven't played it because I think it's PS5 exclusive. But did you see the preview for that game, Stray, the cat game?
Stray, yeah, it is on Steam. It's on PC as well. Yeah,
it's on Steam. Okay, cool.
I've heard it was weird because I heard awesome awesome things about it. Hell, my TikTok was all over
Right.
it. Like even on my For You page, it was just like straight. I'm like, oh my god, okay, I get it, kind of thing. I've had friends play it, and they've streamed it, and it's like they said it was awesome, it was so cool, and then that was it. It was like
Yeah.
that was
Kind of died quick, right?
yeah. It came to as quickly as it went away. Now I know like there's people like that release mods for it and whatnot, but that's the thing I think when it comes to games is I play games that have a lot of replayability, which is why I play a lot of
Yeah.
simulator games because
Yeah.
you can make your own story. That's honestly why I love Farming Sim so much and all simulator games, but Farming Sim mainly just because we have number one, the mod community for it is outrageous. There's like hundreds of thousands of mods, and you can just
Yeah.
do whatever you want. That's what I really like about it. So and like then you
Yeah.
get you get that replayability out of it where you can just you play it differently every time you load up a new game. Whereas with
Yeah.
Stray, with just a strictly story based, even like when it comes to It Takes Two, it's a story based game. You play it, you beat it, and that's it. You can't really play it any different. Yeah, you can swap spots. Like you can, okay, I want to play this character this time, but there's only two, so you really can only play it twice. And then after that, you're like, okay, that's it. Like yeah, I can
Yeah.
play through the story again. Like I would, I think the only game that I would really enjoy playing through again that is a story based, and people can at me all they want, is Fallout 4. I loved Fallout 4. I don't know why. I just loved it.
Yeah.
But it's still going to have more or less, well, there's like 4 or 5 different endings, but more or less you're going to be playing through that same ending that you chose before. And I think I beat it
Yeah.
every single ending
Yeah.
multiple times, but I'm like, I loved it. And I don't know why, but that's like the only story driven game that was not online, not co-op, nothing. That was just, that's how you played it. But yeah, like with Stray, it was, yeah, it came on here and people were like, I was like, Stray, it's a cat game. Oh my God, you can meow, you can scratch things, you can take a nap wherever. And then it was just like, okay, what are we going to play next? Like it just dropped like so quickly.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly, man. That's the thing about a lot of these games, and I don't blame you for going to the ones of replayability at all. Again, I love the narrative games, and so like it just sucks. I wish that the narrative games had more to them. I guess it's kind of was my point. It's not that there's not games that don't have replayability anymore. There is. I just don't seek them out because I'm a narrative guy.
Yeah.
And that's been like my biggest
Yeah.
downfall of my personal gaming journey lately is like I love the narrative and I get so invested, but like once it's done, it's done, you know. And that's I don't know, man. I don't know what where gaming needs to go to be able to change that. Honestly, like I think that I know there was a report from oh man, I can't remember where the report came from, but it was like the Lucasfilm games, the Star Wars stuff, right? Like they had when back in the day, LucasArts was like popping with games. Like you can go a month without one. I mean, maybe you could, but not many months. They were popping with games and they were making amazing games. And now since Disney's taken over, it's been like what 4 big Star Wars releases, like 4 AAA titles. And it's like, what the hell, man? Like, because you would think that with this big property, you'd be doing a lot more, especially with where LucasArts was. And now there's this new report that apparently there's a mandate. They got to release 1 Star Wars game every 6 months.
I think I read that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm like, well, that's exciting, if that happens, because that's a lot better than where we're at, because I just don't understand why gaming isn't where it once was, I guess. I don't know. Like, I don't hate gaming. I think that in a lot of ways it's advanced and it's become amazing. I mean, what we're doing with graphics these days and the performance of them, it's insane. And I love it for that. I just wish there was, I don't know, more.
As I checked my computer to see how the temps are running on this, which is fine. I was like, how's it doing?
Right, exactly. It's your car, man. That's your car. You know what I mean? That's like,
a car payment. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm a traditionalist. So I think that's my problem.
Yeah, and I think
I like the couch co-op and all that,
Yeah, and I think it's like, too, where you get everybody's got their different niche, like what they like you like the story driven narrative stuff, I like the simulation stuff, and like that. But there's like the games that I don't care for, or like the pixel games, not necessarily Minecraft.
kind of agree with you.
But like those ones that are like 2D, like Terraria. Do you know what like Terraria is?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's like it's a 2D Minecraft kind of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've played it before. It just wasn't for me. I just don't care for those stuff. But a lot of people, pixel art games, Terra just said, like, yeah, exactly, pixel art games. That's what it is. I'm just not a fan of them kind of stuff. I don't know why. I'm just not a big thing of it. But you know, I feel like there's still a calling for like narrative games like that where, and you were talking about the graphics of everything, and I think that's what really drives those as well, because when you have a single player narrative game, you can focus more on the game and the narration and the content versus having a game like Call of Duty where all it is multiplayer and they just want to focus solely on that. Like, yeah, don't get me wrong, like their campaigns are great, but like it's like I feel like when it comes to narrative games, they can push better content when it comes to that.
That's true.
Now, the other thing, when you're talking about the where they had to push out 2 Star Wars games a year kind of thing, I'm great. Like, I'm happy that they're doing that. Like, I haven't really played very many Star Wars games, like very few and zero kind of thing. But what scares me with that is how good are they going to be? Because when you're pushing out a game or 2 games every year, basically, take Grand Theft Auto 5, for example, that's been out since like what, 2013? And it's like, or something like that. And it's like, bro, but they keep it alive for what it's worth.
People are still playing it. I mean, you can't, they're still
and
on it.
They roped me into it. They hook, line, and sinkered me back into it when they released the private lobby, being able to do your CEO stuff without being in a public lobby. So me and a few of my friends got on there like, finally, we don't have to worry about being killed by a freaking flying motorcycle. We can just drive around and do our stuff and get money, because that's what drove me away from it. It was like, I just want to get money. Like, and I can't do that. Like, unless I'm grinding, you know, at 3 a.m. when nobody's on, you know, it sucks. So they wrote me back into that. But so they're taking their sweet time on that. So it better be a good game.
Exactly. No, I hear you.
But yeah, so that's I'm curious how it's going to go out when they said that they got to release like 2 games a year.
Well, that's interesting, because when I even thought of that too, when they said one of them they wanted to be AAA, the other one they wanted to be smaller, which you could make a great smaller game. Like, that's possible. That's doable. They have. I mean, LucasArts back in the day has proven they've made some really good smaller games too, that weren't necessarily AAA titles. It's just, that does worry me because of how much goes into the games now. And do you think it is that, though, that it is so much of the money is going toward the graphics and all that it's not that they can't, there's less money being pushed into the features of the game itself, or the, the extra bonus content, I think that
I think they really, I got a game that I'm waiting for it to come out. It was actually supposed to come out here this month. I think it was on the 22nd when it was actually supposed to come out, but it got pushed back to 2023. And that is Test Drive Solar Crown. I am dying to play it. I haven't played a racing game in quite a while. I actually just re-downloaded Forza, and I got the Forza Horizon 5, and I got the Hot Wheels DLC, which I haven't really played much because, busy. But Test Drive Solar Crown, the last test drive I played was Test Drive Unlimited 2, which was on the 360, and I had like an old steering wheel set up for that. And it was like a, quote, 1-to-1 scale of Hawaii. Now, it wasn't quite 1-to-1 scale, but it did take you about 45 legit minutes to actually drive around the island. Right. Now, with Test Drive Solar Crown, they're doing an actual 1-to-1 scale of Hong Kong. Now, it's taken them some time to do because of like COVID and the restrictions and whatnot, but the theatrical trailer and the trailers of it and everything are just mind-blowing. I'm like, oh my god. And I have a feeling like this is probably going to be more of like a story-driven game that's also going to have online features of like just racing, probably. I'm sure they have to, because it's I feel like it's Test Drive. Like, they're going to have some type of online feature with it, especially to keep up with a lot of the AAA games now, but there hasn't really been a Test Drive game in a long time. But when I saw the graphics, now I know it was the theatrical stuff too. I've seen some gameplay, very, very brief. It did look gorgeous. I'm going to apologize to my graphics card in advance, but it's it's nutty. Some of the stuff that these game engines can do are
I know.
crazy. And like, I know there was that Matrix game. It was like Matrix
Did you
Reload.
play that?
No, I
That
didn't.
was
I'm like,
nuts.
what the? Like, this is real
Holy shit.
life.
That was insane, bro.
Yeah. I was like,
I
holy
played
shit.
it. Wow. Yeah, no, I
It's
remember
like,
playing that when that. Ooh.
whoa. Yeah, that one was good. But yeah.
Yeah,
But
that
yeah,
was nuts.
so yeah, with like graphics, it's, I feel like, when they get games, like when it comes to newer games that are going to be story driven, like I said, I feel like they need to allocate more resources to the how beautiful it looks, kind of thing. Like, you kind of have
Yeah,
to, because that's all you have to look at.
that's true.
You're not focusing on call outs and voice chat and everything. You're focusing on the game, and
True.
that's why I I fell out of love with Cyberpunk 2077. I still haven't beat it. I've played it 4 times, and I keep stopping at the same spot, because here's the reason. The only reason I've stopped playing Cyberpunk 2077 is because, obviously, I bought it like day 2 or something like that, and I was so excited to play it.
Right.
Game breaking bugs. Like, I had to actually restart because there was a glitch in it, and I couldn't actually advance. Like, I said, press the button. I'm like, I can't. It's not letting me, kind of thing. Played it again, more glitches, more bugs. Played it again, more glitches, more bugs. This last time when they said, "Oh, we've updated, we've fixed a majority of stuff. You shouldn't experience anything," I played it again, and I was like, it was. I know I couldn't stream it on ultra settings. I could play it on ultra settings at like, yeah, like 70-ish frames per second and whatnot. I've got a 3070 Ti,
Right.
so it handled it pretty well. But what just killed it for me was, like, I actually ended up dialing the graphics back just so I could play it like at 140 frames. But I'd be walking down like, man, this like, just looking at this game, like, have my lights and these, blues and purples and whatnot, and like just sitting here just immersed in it. And then I'd be turning the corner, walking down the street, and I see somebody walking like this, like T-posing, and they're just
Uh-huh.
walking, and I'm like, bro, like, this place is gorgeous, and I see somebody with their arms just sticking out, walking, like, sliding to me. I'm like, this just kills it. It annoys the
Yeah.
hell out of me.
No, I'd imagine.
I'm like, ah. Or
And you
they,
need to be able to stream at like high quality, I would imagine, anymore to just really be able to get that full enjoyment out of it.
oh
Right.
yeah.
Because, engaging with the community
Mhm.
has to have become such a huge part of your gaming journey right
Mhm.
now. I mean, and then I can see why you've probably given up on that for sure. I mean, at least Cyberpunk. I mean,
Yeah.
because yeah, absolutely. I understand that. I think, and I wanted to ask your opinion on this because I think VR is the future
Oh
of
yeah.
gaming. Like,
100%.
I think it's changing everything. And I think that not enough people know it yet. But honestly, guys, if you have the extra $300, go get that Oculus
Yep.
Quest 2. It's actually the Meta Quest 2, I think now, but since the update, but go get there you are. Get that Oculus Quest 2 for what you're getting out of that 300. I'm not sponsored by Facebook
They're
or
not paying me
anything, but
anything.
like, no, honestly, what they have done for that $300 price point is insane.
Dude,
It's
nutty.
worth your money.
Nutty.
And like, it's innovative, man. I think that's the future. I think that's going to change everything. What's your take on it? You think it's going to change the world?
Oh
I mean,
man, yeah. So I've got the original. Well, no, I got the Gen 2 Rift. So with the cameras and shit.
yeah,
And that was a pain beyond belief to set up.
right.
So that's why I kept changing my computer setup a lot, and I hated doing that because then I have to remount my cameras, and like I ended up 3D printing like wall mounts for them just because I was tired of setting them up in places where it wouldn't work. So I permanently mounted them up, and I still have the mounts up there, but I haven't used it because I've got the Oculus, the Quest. But the Rift was great, and I thought, I was like, when I first got it, when I first played it, I was like, holy shit, this is wild. Like, yeah, the cords kind of kept getting in my way, and I was like, oh my god, like, okay, I can feel the cord. So that cord not only physically tethered you to the world, but
Right.
it mentally tethered, because you could feel that
Yeah.
cord resting on your back. Now you can get like the pulley that mounts up to your ceiling. Well, I'm like, I'm not gonna do
Yeah.
that, but
Absolutely not. No.
you felt that, so you're like, it subtly reminded you that, hey, you're still you're still here,
right.
yeah, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I got that Quest, like, bro, that shit blew my mind. I mean,
Insane.
granted, I've played putt-putt on it and whatnot, and played a few other
Yeah.
games, but still, the fact I'm sitting there going, like, I can just straight up take this anywhere I want,
Yeah.
set it up, play it. I had my dad play it, actually, too, and he is not a tech-savvy guy at all.
Right.
And I was like, I brought it over to his house. Like he just got a smartphone, probably like 3 years ago or something like that. Like, just got a smartphone kind of thing. And had a flip phone for a long time. So when I showed him VR, I was like, I want you to check this out, Dad. Like, I think you would love this. And he was like,
Exactly.
oh God, oh no, what do you got here? Oh my.
Yeah.
I was just like, what's this? I was like, trust me. Well, he likes to golf. So I was like, I have a putt-putt game I want you to play. I'm like, I'll walk you through it. It's okay. You're not going to trip over anything. Like, it's got safety features to it. I said, I'm painting an area on your rug. I said, if you walk out of this area, it'll turn cameras on and you can actually see what's around you.
Exactly.
And he's like, okay. He was so confused. He had no idea how this worked. Long story short, he wore it and everything, and I was telling him, I said, okay, walk towards me. He goes, where are you at? So just follow my voice. Just keep walking. Don't worry, I'm watching. You're not going to hit anything. He goes, okay. And then he walked out of the area, and he turned and he goes, whoa. He goes, well, it's in black and white. I said, yeah, I know. I said, but you can see me, right? You can, like, I'm waving. He goes, yeah. He goes, you're right there. I said, now walk backwards, and it'll fade away. And he's like, okay. I don't know where I'm at now. I said, don't worry about it. I said, as long as that doesn't come up, like, if it does come up, you'll see, oh, I'm about to run to the couch. Okay. Anything, like, it warns you.
Yeah.
Well, he played putt-putt on it. And I swear, he probably would have played it all night if I let him. But the battery was like dead. Yeah. I mean, it was like dead by the time I'm like, and you can get like 3 hours out of it. He did not want to stop playing it. He's like, this is unreal. He's like, this is so wild.
Yeah.
He was wanting to tell like my stepmom about it. He's like, you gotta play this. I was golfing on the side of a mountain, like way up in the clouds. Like he was so stoked about it. I'm like, I think it's really is going to change the future. Really.
It's crazy, man. Did you play Vader Immortal? I know you say you haven't played a lot of Star Wars games.
That was the one that was recommended by far. They said that was really awesome.
Need to play Vader Immortal. That was the first game I ever played in Quest 2, which was a good way to get in there.
Yeah.
Because honestly, that was the first I downloaded Vader Immortal. It was like $30 for all 3 chapters. They're like $10 a piece. And I get into that thing. I'm like, this is like a ride at Disneyland. And I can play it. I can get on it anytime I want. And it's brilliant, dude. I mean, it's really fantastic what they've been able to do with all that, man. And it's great. Yeah. But look, guys, we are hitting that 2 hour, 20-minute ish mark. And so we are gonna like do the Q&A after this. So we're gonna start to kind of wrap things up here and get to that Q&A, or just really hanging out with you guys. I don't even want to call it like a Q&A. You don't have to ask a question. You can comment. We'll just talk or whatever, man. I'm here for whatever. But I want to thank Logan for being here today. And before we go, I do want everybody to see this music video, man. Can we play that real quick?
Yeah, we'll play it here real quick.
All right. Yeah. All right, let's listen. This is Transhumanism from the Boomboxx here.
Yeah,
I'm very excited for y'all to watch it or hear it if you haven't already. So
you guys gotta check this out. This is, of course, courtesy of Mixed Creatives. It's the brand new. Well, I won't say brand new, but I've showed it on my stream before. It is my my Twitch intro video, but it is finally out there for everybody's viewing pleasure. Here we go. Transhumanism by yours truly.
Transhumanism opponent. Government. Transhumanism opponent. Government. Transhumanism opponent. Government. Transhumanism opponent. Transhumanism opponent. Government. Transhumanism opponent. Government. Transhumanism opponent. Government. Transhumanism opponent. Transhumanism opponent. Government. Transhumanism opponent. Government. Transhumanism opponent. Government. Transhumanism opponent. The transhumanism component. The government, the transhumanism component.
Oop, there we go.
All right, all right, we back. All right, so look, guys, that track gets better and better every time I hear it. And Logan, where can people find that track right now, and where can they get it?
That track is actually exclusively. You can actually download that track on my Discord. I'm part of two Discords, but the only spot right now is words. It is a Discord exclusive right now. Mixed Creatives. I think I posted their stuff in my chat. Their YouTube has the video as well. I'm going to be uploading it to my YouTube too. Eventually in due time, but the actual song itself you can actually download for free in my Discord in the Boombox exclusive section. So if you guys want that, you want to listen to it and send some cyberpunky type vibes to your ear holes, you're more than welcome to do that. Yeah.
All right, guys, look, and Logan, you said it all. I do want to thank you for letting me be on your neck of the woods for a day here, and being able to be a part of your beautiful community, which isn't over yet, folks. We are going to do hang out with the chat portion. It's going to be fun, but this episode will be up on Movie Mornings as soon as Saturday, I would say. You can probably find it on the Anorax Entertainment YouTube channel, and it'll be on Spotify as well, so you guys can rewatch it there. And then I think you can rewatch it on Twitch for a limited time. Is that
3 months? I think it'll be up on Twitch.
Okay.
So yeah, it'll be up there for that time. And
yeah, if you're just like tuning in now or whatever, you want to go back. All right, awesome. All right, guys, look. I've been Don Martino. Logan, before we go, what do you want to plug? Where else can people find you and all that?
The main thing right now is the only thing I really have to plug is minus tonight, which is a very special stream because not only for this podcast and everything, but because I took just a small break from Twitch. I'm still planning on coming back from the guys, all my community members here. I'm still planning on coming back on October 10th after a big DJ event that I've got going on, obviously next Friday. October 10th is still the planned time to come back. And of course, I know everybody has been hanging out with me in the Founding Five Discord and whatnot. October 28th, I've posted the little teaser video about that for the next Boombox Bangers episode. That's still planned and whatnot. Obviously, I'm going to be taking a little bit of time off beforehand too to get to prepare for that, because for those of you that have seen the Boombox Bangers episode, it takes some time to get that shit going. I got to remount my green screen because I was doing obviously a lot of lighting stuff for the October 7th event. But yeah, that's the two big dates that we're planning on doing. Obviously, I'm coming back on October 10th to our normal streaming schedule, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Playing some Farming Sim, might play some Knockout City. And October 28th, Boombox Bangers. Guys, that's probably going to be the last one for the year as far as that goes. But that's about the two big dates that I got.
All right, and thank you very much, man, for being on the show too. It's been awesome, and yeah, man, I hope you come back for sure and do this again. I'll definitely try to hop on your Twitch when I can again, or whenever you'll have me as well. Before we go, I do want to give a shout out to our folks being affected by Hurricane Ian right now. I know it's kind of a big deal, and I pray for everybody out there in Florida, and for Dave, friend of the show out there in Florida, I hope you're doing all right, man. It's been a huge impact on them. So I just wanted to make sure I said that before we took off. And my name is Don Martino. Thank you guys for joining. This has been another episode of Movie Mornings. You guys can find me going potty here as soon as the show ends, but also you can find me on the social media pages at Anorax Official across Twitter and Instagram, and on Twitter you can find my personal at Dom_Martino_, and on Instagram Dom_Martino_official. This has been another episode of Movie Mornings. Stick around for the Q&A if you are on Twitch, and I will talk to you guys later.